What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to the Fast Life Podcast. Man, I just spent the whole day, I guess today's Thursday, I just spent the entire day riding down to my buddy Mark's shop down at Texas Performance to get some sweet T-bars put on my Roguelike. So, yeah, that's what's going on with me. Yeah. But at any rate, let's just jump into these sponsors real quick. I want to thank Mark, obviously, from Texas Performance for everything he does for me since the moment I met the guy. And not to mention his help with keeping this podcast rolling. Check him out on Instagram at texasperformancemc.com and on Instagram as Texas Performance MC. Like I said, he does a lot for us. Like I said, he just helped me out getting my bars put on today and helping me out with some first service needs on this 2019 Roguelike. Also want to thank my guys over at Paint Heifer Metal Flake for all the shit they do for us and all the cool things they make for us to use. So if you're a painter or you're looking for someone to paint and they are or are not using Paint Heifer Metal Flake, you just need to put them on, give them drop a little knowledge in them, you know what I mean? Let them know about Paint Heifer and the flaky flakes they sell. Check them out at painthuffer.com if you want to order some flakes, order some swag, order some that new badass t-shirt they got that something about metal flakes getting you lots of pussy or something like that. Yeah, check it out. It's pretty dope. Don't forget to check them out on Instagram as well at Paint Heifer Metal Flake on Instagram. You can check out some of our work and many other awesome painters across the country or world. I don't know. Valley Customs, to name a few, Austin, Poland, like a lot of badass dudes out there pushing that Paint Heifer Metal Flake. So check them out. I also want to thank Horsepower Inc. for everything they do for us and all the cool shit they make for all you guys to make your bikes go faster. Check them out at horsepowerinc.net, Horsepower Inc. on Instagram, and Horsepower Inc. Indy on Facebook. They're known for the big bore throttle bodies and basically all the shit you need to make your bike go fast. You know what I mean? And if you're fortunate enough to be up in the Indianapolis area, I would go talk to Jimmy over there and see what he can do to your V-twin, see what he can do to your Dyna, your Bagger, your new M8. See what he can do to make it fast, make it go quick. It's about to be cold up there, I know, so maybe it's a good time to go consult with them and see what they can do for you. So like I said, check them out at horsepowerinc.net, Horsepower Inc. on Instagram, and Horsepower Inc. Indy on Facebook. I also want to thank my dudes over at Hard Drive Parts, hdtwin.com if you want to get set up as a dealer. HD or Hard Drive Parts if you just want to check out the Instagram and see all the products they sell. You might even, like I said, if you're a shop in the middle of nowhere or the shop in the middle of everything and you're still not hooked up, maybe reach out to Zombie Mike. Zombie Mike's a good friend of mine. You've heard him on the podcast many times, and he could probably direct you to the rep you're going to need to get set up, or maybe just go to hdtwin.com and they'll send a rep out to you. I don't know how it works, but maybe that's it. But check them out, hdtwin.com, Hard Drive Parts on Instagram. I also want to give a quick shout out to some new Patreon subscribers, man. You guys are balling out of control, man. I don't even know how you can afford to do this. Charles Fisher, man. Charles Fisher is he's got 2 of our helmets, I believe. I don't know too many Charles Fishers out there, but I think this is the same one. He has 2 of our custom painted helmets, the Texas flag one and another one with the Texas on the back of it. So Texas Power, my homie. I also want to thank Aaron Coit, another guy that we painted his bike last December. It was on the cover of what's that magazine? The Horse magazine. You might want to check him out on Instagram. I think it's Midwest Grinder or something like that. He has a pretty sick ass Dyna. Just dropped a 124 in it. Has a bagger he's looking at doing as well. So I want to thank you both for your Patreon support. And it's some pretty fucking high as number Patreon support. So I don't know if I need to give you guys a hand job or something. I don't know. I don't know how this works. I don't know. Also want to thank out Bill Baylor, who pledged some money on our Patreon as well. I kind of mentioned in the last podcast, I do plan on doing some kind of giveaways here this month. I'm going to try to bang out something custom painted just to give away, to one of the Patreons. And I'm working on some stuff with my sponsors right now to start getting some swag to give out to you guys for at least this. But like I said, also around the anniversary of this podcast, which will be probably January, we're looking to do some helmet giveaways. So you got to hold me to it, but at the same time, we should be able to come through with all those things. This podcast today, man, it's pretty cool. It's Chris Eder. Chris Eder owns and started up Epic Moto Co last year, and is kind of taking a new approach at customizing baggers and actually into other bikes in the future. Me and Chris have a long history dating back to, he kind of was one of the ones that kind of gave me an opportunity to paint some really high-end bikes that kind of helped get my career going in the Harley industry. So huge guy in my life as far as helping me get somewhere, and someone I really respect, and I'm glad I was able to get him on this podcast and share some of his story with you guys. So let's check this out, guys.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
All right, man, we're rolling. So tell everybody your name.
Chris Eder, Epic Moto Co. It seems like everybody gets it wrong. It's not Epic Motor or Epic Motor Company. It's Epic Moto Co. Tried to make it simple, but it seems like everybody screws it up. It never fails.
Yeah, it's still a cool name. I thought it was cool when I first saw it coming on the line. You know what I mean? So, well, shit. Like we were just kind of talking. We're kind of picking up on the mics now, but yeah. So what's that story, man? Like I said, I had mentioned to you before we started, like how just knowing your path in the motorcycle industry, you're kind of, to my knowledge, you started at kind of, I would say like an entry level, service type shop, working and building bikes. Or you said you were in your garage.
Yeah, so it's funny how I got into the industry, because it was never my intention to be in the industry, right? I mean, It was a hobby. I was building motorcycles at home, and my mom, actually she was 59. At 59 years old, she lived in Colorado. She called one day and she bought a Harley. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what the hell? This ain't happening.
Yeah.
She's never been a motorcycle rider, Never really been on the back of a motorcycle. So I thought it was crazy. I told her, no, it's not happening.
Especially up there with hills and.
Yeah, I mean,
Where she had like Denver or something like that?
Yeah, she was in the.
So she had a little bit of flat land to mess with or whatnot, but.
So anyway, she comes to Texas, and she's telling me how much she loves the Harley culture and this and that, and she's into it, man. She's got a leather jacket from every freaking dealership across Colorado, and she just loved it. So I actually went and rode with her. We had a big ride and I couldn't believe how well she rode. So that was cool. So I was a little more comfortable with it. But she came to me one day and she said, "Look, my mom was an artist, and she said, look, I need something to do. Mm-hmm. I want to design T-shirts for bikers and have my own little boutique store." So at the time, I was building bikes in the garage, and I'm a Pro Street guy, and I said, well, look, there's a shop down the street, huge storefront, all glass. I said, let's open a shop. And I said, I'm not going to go build bikes there. It's not what I'm going to do, but I'll build a bike in my garage. I'll put it in your showroom. He sells, whatever.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah. So I get this building. It's 6,000 square feet. She comes in. Yeah, it was a big deal, right? So she comes in and she paints an American flag on the back wall, like all hand painted. It's super cool. She spends all this time decorating the place, making it just rad as can be, right?
Yeah. So
I open up. We have a big opening party, and then she calls one day. She's like, I don't want to come. I don't want to move to Texas.
But this was down in Houston, right?
Yeah, it was down in Houston.
Yeah. So that's a big, climate change.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Houston's brutal. So I was stuck with this motorcycle shop, right?
Yeah.
So then I went and I was getting my manufacturing license, and I found out from the state of Texas, all this crap I had to go through to get it.
What was that MSO thing that they were dealing with, as far as I had heard that you could only build one bike a year under a special title type MSO or builder's title or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I think as a individual, there's probably you
were trying to be a manufacturer.
Yeah, I applied for my federal manufacturer license. So in the state of Texas, you're not allowed to be a manufacturer and a dealer, even if it's family.
Wow.
So of course I found a loophole to that, but so it took us about 8 months, and I was sitting there paying all this money out for the shop. Mm-hmm. So I said, screw it, and I hired this mechanic, and we started doing service work, and the place just took off because we were on 1488 and every weekend the guys went up to the National Forest.
Oh, was that? Yeah, I know you're talking about Davy Crockett National Forest or some shit like that.
Oh man, don't make me lie.
It's not important.
But anyway, so we get thousands of bikes every weekend, right? So the shop took off quickly, and then we were building. It took off so fast. I was building one chopper a month, like contracted.
Yeah.
And the economy was crashing, which was crazy. So,
but it was still going good for you, though.
Yeah, right? I tell you, the Houston bike business is awesome.
Yeah.
If you have a shop down there, you kick ass.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different in Dallas. It's just not the same. I don't know if it's the.
It seems like we have more builders up here, and more people that are messing with bikes than Houston does. And Houston's just a bigger city with more people, I guess. And
I tell you, the thing that I noticed about Houston is there's biker bars and people got out and rode and went places.
Yeah.
Where not that there's not back roads in Dallas, but I don't know if it was just a side of town I was living on there or what, Lake Conroe.
You can easily jump on a bike and head down to Galveston and have, lunch or a couple beers, down off the seawall or some shit.
Yeah.
We don't have anything cool like that up here.
No, I mean, that's the thing. So it's just different, but there's a lot of business down there anyways. And we did good. I mean, we were building. So then I had to hire people, it took off. And then the chopper thing started going away. I couldn't, unless it was a cash customer, I couldn't get them financed. And, same problem everybody was dealing with. So I saw my opportunity as the bagger stuff started coming on. And I built 2 baggers from scratch. I never even worked on a.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the mechanic I hired, he rode a Roguelike Ultra. And he used to park in front of the shop, and I told him, you got to park that shit in the back. Like, the choppers are out front. Like, I had them all lined out. And I'm like, you can't park that here, bro. Yeah. It's not going to happen. So I made him park it in the back. But anyways, I never even worked on a touring bike.
Yeah.
And decided to build a Street Glide and a Road Glide version, my own. And so we built everything from scratch, except for we bought an inner fairing, for a Road Glide and a Street Glide.
Yeah.
Bought the bag latches and stuff. But like stretching the bags, I didn't even do that. We just made everything out of foam from the very beginning. So I saw my opportunity to make my own parts line. We did a 23 and a 21. 26s were like a big deal, but I wasn't sure about it yet. And
I remember you did that like that Corvette or the SR. What was it? Was something like that?
Yeah, well, that was just a one-off bike for a guy, but. The Road Rage was the Road Glide I did that was all patinaed. And we made the fairings with the
with the louvers in the side.
It was pretty cool. I sold a lot of those.
For real?
Yeah. Anyways, we had I came out with a line of bagger parts, and that's how I became somebody in the industry making parts.
Yeah.
The first stuff wasn't the greatest. I had to learn, and I definitely got my feet wet and learned everything the hard way. Because I come from a glass manufacturing world, not a motorcycle parts manufacturing world. So it was different. But anyways, I get stuck with this motorcycle shop, and we started making everything. And then there's a wheel manufacturer in town, so-called wheel manufacturer in town, that convinced me to move to Dallas because I hated the service business. It wasn't for me.
Yeah, I remember that's around the time we met, and I remember you were just telling me about it because I was all hyped up about having our shop at the time.
Yeah.
Go that direction, and you were like, "Man, it fucking sucks," and blah blah blah. But
anyway, so we moved to Dallas, and that was a short-lived little life. Matter of fact, you painted that bike, got you fired up, and all your buddies
that was when
into baggers.
Yeah, that's when we did that bike, man. That's what that was right at the transition for me from the sport bike world to the motorcycle world. It's really just opportunity, man. It was having a shop like what you guys had at the time give me an opportunity to do something on my own with my name on it, as opposed to how I was doing it before under Gary's name and stuff like that. It started my career, 100% in the Harley world.
Yeah, and if you remember, you did 2 bikes.
Yeah.
The Street Glide and that Road King for me. They were on the cover. I don't think I've ever seen another cover with 2 builders' bikes on it like that.
Yeah, on the front. I mean, there's got to be in the line of it. But
yeah, I'm sure it's never been done, but that was a pretty cool feature, anyways.
Yeah.
That was a good magazine. They did a magazine that flat, matte.
Yeah.
I mean, it's turned out pretty cool. So
that's really the only hot bike shit I've ever had was that magazine. Everything else that I've ever done has always been in like baggers and urban bagger and super street bike and road iron and
yeah.
Never really got a lot of hot bike love. It's weird.
Well, I mean, that everything's changing. I think ever since I've been in the business, it's dramatically changed. If you talk to some of the guys, like Eddie Trotta and those guys that have been around a long time, it's definitely a different world we live in. Back in the day, you get on the cover of a magazine, your phone would ring off the hook, and now people are like, yeah, so what, right? Exactly. Are you on Instagram?
Yeah.
So it's just a different world we live in. But so anyways, that's how I got stuck with the motorcycle shop and became a motorcycle, manufacturer. So
what was it like? What was it about you that kept pushing you towards the parts creation type situation? I mean, like you said you wasn't long in the shop before you had already made a couple products for the. Is it just like seeing the bikes and seeing a better version of it, and it makes you want to make it differently, or?
Yeah, I think for me, what happened is when I was building bikes in my garage, choppers and pro streets, I'd buy a part from somebody and it wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if it was a billet part or a fender or something, and that was okay because you should be able to build that stuff. When you buy a primary and it doesn't fit, it's frustrating. Or a set of forward controls and they don't fit, that's frustrating. So I saw that as my opportunity to instead of buying somebody else. And over the years, all my bikes, I'm happy to buy somebody else's stuff as long as it
works. Yeah,
it works with the flow of everything. I'm cool with using other people's parts. And the other thing I didn't like is overly branded product.
Yeah.
Because if I'm building a Chris Eder bike, I don't want it to say
Roland Sands all over it.
Yeah, Roland Sands or Arlen Ness, and I have nothing but respect for those guys.
Yeah.
But when you show your bike and that name's all over it, somebody's going, "Oh, this is a Roland Sands bike."
Yeah.
And I get that's a good thing, I guess, but it's in that world, and no disrespect to those guys because they're some badasses.
Yeah, for sure.
But
it's perfect. It's awesome marketing for them on their end because I don't think they probably think about building products to sell to builders. They're more like, hey, we want the average guy walking in the store want our grips and our billet products, so that's why they're over branded because it's just doing more advertising for
them.
So
it's obviously that's some of the lessons that I've learned, right? As I grew my brand, I would do things like not put my name on them at all.
Yeah.
And it probably wasn't a very smart business decision because my take at the time was, I want other builders to buy my stuff.
Yeah.
Because I built a lot of builder-related products, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't want them to hesitate on using it because it was overly branded. Well,
that's a good point.
Coming at it again with Epic, I'm branding my stuff. I'm not overdoing it. I'm making sure we have,
it's placed cleanly.
Yeah, something somewhere. Our risers don't have our label on them at all. I like some things clean. Our mid controls, the left side has a little tiny logo on it, but I don't want it all over. I don't want it all over my stuff because I just want it to be clean and the bike to, lend itself to, showing off instead of over the branded. But anyways, that's kind of how I feel about that. But now with Epic, I'm taking a different approach to that and making sure our brand gets recognized on our parts.
Well, I'm sure this is an age-old thing that's been happening in the motorcycle industry even before we were in it, but it seems like from that 2012 era to maybe the last 2 years ago, it was a huge market of just people ripping people off and redesigning shit. Like I remember whenever I designed that wheel for Sinister Wheels, it wasn't even a month later there was 5 more wheels on the market that had that same swag. You know what I mean? And I was like, because I had grew up and around so many people and talking about people ripping parts designs off from people, when Sinister asked me to design the wheels, I went and looked at everything out there and drew something that wasn't like anything out there. You know what I mean?
And that's hard.
It is hard. It takes a lot of time, and it's not like it's really easy I know a lot of wheel guys will just jump into like a Dub magazine and turn to one of those pages where there's 400 wheels on it. And you go, that would look good as a motorcycle wheel. We'll run that.
Yeah.
Like I know that happens, and I'm not hating on it, but like I said, I took pride in designing that wheel, and I saw how quickly it was knocked off. And I'm not really one to really give a fuck, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm sure Sinister probably was pissed, because they're making money on it. I just got a one-time check and I was done.
Yeah.
So
I mean, unfortunately, that happens a lot. I mean, I've sold products over the years and went, it's that guy, and you kind of know he's got a reputation, and then he buys one of something.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't buy it.
Yeah.
Somebody else buys it, and then you see it on a bike, and they changed it up. I'm okay with that. Buy my stuff, change it up, but don't buy my stuff and make a mold off of it and then call it yours. And I think there's somebody that's made a hell of a fiberglass business off of that.
Yeah, that's that's for sure.
But it is what it is. It's, unfortunately, it's hard to be original.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, as even doing Epic, completely different style of bike than anybody else is doing. And looking at it going, okay, well, what can I do that's not already been done? Mm-hmm. And it's not even about, I don't want to make a peg like so-and-so or, this or that. I mean, it's just trying to do something different to where it's unique and people are like, wow, let's go try that because it's something we haven't seen before, and it's hard, man. I mean, being a parts manufacturer is a tough business. Being a builder is a tough business, Everyone, especially today with computers and whatnot, man, I mean, and the world is at your fingertips now. Mm-hmm. See everyone building stuff all over the world. It's hard not to go, well, we've never seen that before.
Yeah.
There's a Skittles pack somewhere out there that's got your name on it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's similar. But, I mean, that's the cool thing about motorcycles is you got to do something that, you try to do that's unique. And
well, what I think is good about the direction you took with this is that as you evolve the product line's going to get better. It's going to get more parts, more designs, because the more that you build these and look at these bikes, the more ideas you're going to get at how you can make the next version, add something to it, make it more streamlined, to where it's like, I think your product line can have a multifaceted look, even though it's all more, skinny bikes and narrowing it down and making it more, like a city ripper kind of bike. There's still a lot of room to add. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas. To be honest with you, Jace, when I started this, I thought, well, I'll probably have like maybe 10 SKUs looking at it from the outside,
Yeah.
We have 104 SKUs.
It happens quickly.
Yeah, it's stupid.
And it's only been like a year, right? Like right around a year, maybe a little bit after.
Yeah, but we started last March of 2017.
Yeah.
And, to have 104 SKUs, I mean, it's, stupid things like I like our finish washers a certain way, right? So we have our own line of finish washers and our delete plates for passenger pegs. I mean, some of them aren't big money items, but it just adds up. And, and you got to put that stuff on the shelf. So as I come up with new body designs and stuff like that, it's got to wait, until the company evolves a little bit and the product line starts to move more. But I mean, that's a good thing because, we want to do a lot more stuff. The naked bikes, I think it's obvious that what I did is the right direction because look at the bikes that Harley's releasing, look at the bikes that Indian's releasing. Mm-hmm. A lot of people make comments like, well, you can get a Softail that looks like that. Mm-hmm. You can get a Softail that looks like that for $22,000 for the base model. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to go spend $5,000 making it sound like a Harley and run good, right? Yeah. So $25,000 and then you got a bike that looks just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, that's a badass bike, by the way. I mean, I have ideas of parts I want to make for a lot of those bikes, but Epic, the reason I started that and the way I designed the parts line was everything I've learned since I got into this business. Mm-hmm. Fabrication costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of time, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we all like to say, I can build you a bike in a month, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Bring it in, let's get started. But by the time you get started, it's been 6 weeks,
Yeah.
you know? So, and then the bike ends up living in your shop for 6 to 9 months, sometimes longer, depending on how custom it is. And then you get, all of a sudden you have a customer base of 20, 30, 40 guys waiting in line.
Well, you know what I think helps or makes that happen too, is that a lot of people don't realize that, for you to, as a business, to run a business, and this is something, it's not the customer's fault. It's just kind of like a shitty thing or a hard thing to overcome. But what happens is like, it's very rare that you can have a bike come in and they're paying you enough money to only touch that bike for the entire month. You know what I mean? Like, think about that at, 120, 150 hours for custom fabrication labor, 2 weeks, 40 hours a week. I mean, that's a lot of fucking money. You know what I mean? So the thing is like, hey, either pay the top dollar and you have me for a whole month, or we have to chop this up and I have to do multiple projects at a time.
Well, the other thing you run into, right, is, and this happens a lot, is we have our own wheels, right? Mm-hmm. And so, as far as Epic goes, you came to me and you wanted a bike built, assuming you wanted all my stuff.
Yeah.
I've got it. Mm-hmm. But if you say, hey, man, I want everything but your wheels because I like, Lindell's new wheels, right? Yeah. I don't care. That's fine. So then we order the wheels and it's 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Or whoever it is, right? Doesn't matter. And what do? A lot of times you need the wheel to do the mock-up of this or that, depending on the extremes of the bike. So you're sitting there like, all of a sudden the bike's been there for 6 weeks. It seems like you haven't done anything, but you're waiting on the wheels. Or, you buy a part from somebody and it's not in stock and this and that. And, that's all okay. But so the projects take a long time. So with Epic, I went, okay, look, we know that in the big wheel bagger market, cutting the neck off, buying a front wheel, just doing the front end used to be $7 to $10,000, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is today because I haven't been messing with it for a couple of years.
Some crackhead shit going on out there, man.
Yeah, I mean, it could be $1,500 now, But, I mean, on average, it was $7 to $10,000 when it was hot. And then you had to go back. You couldn't just run a 26 or a 30-inch wheel and
everything else was stock. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people did, but it was pretty retarded, right? So on average, a customer's going to spend another $20,000 usually.
Yeah.
So there's $30,000. And
that's what I used to tell people all the time. Like $30,000, between 20 and 30 grand is a parts build. Depending on your paint. That's really not even paint, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's not paint.
Yeah, it's like parts and labor in some aspects. And then if you start doing big motor work, then
oh man, I mean, it's crazy.
Well, that's what I've been hearing about, like people on the performance thing. Like I was talking to a friend that's done a lot of big wheels, and now he's into the performance bagger look. And he bought some wheels and all this other shit. I'm like, so you're gonna do like Öhlins and shit on there? Which I'm not a huge fan of Öhlins. I love their shit. Let me rephrase that. I'm a huge fan of Öhlins, but I'm not good enough to ride Öhlins. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's really what it is. But if I had an extra $7,000 laying around, I'd fucking have Öhlins on my shit for sure.
Yeah.
And but hearing people that I know used to spend 30, 40 grand on their bikes say, oh man, I don't know if I want to spend $7,000 on suspension. I'm like, you used to buy a $7,000 front wheel.
Yeah.
And wait 8 weeks to get it. And now,
longer.
Yeah, it's like, it's weird how a lot of people that were from the big wheel market have come into other aspects of motorcycling, and they're just not willing to spend the kind of money they did on their big wheel. You know what I mean? It's kind of strange. And some people are. I mean, you see, Mad Jap up there in Canada, building some fucking ridiculous swing arms and shit like that on his bikes and stuff. But
there'll always be that customer. But I looked at it from the average customer. So when I took the initial concept, I went, okay, all my bikes have always been extreme. Like, I mean, whether it was a lay frame or whatever, they've always been extreme. My bikes hardly ever sold that were mine personally because they were just too radical. Matter of fact, I didn't want to put anybody on it because,
just in case.
Yeah. But, that's okay. It was my bike. But when I looked at Epic, I went, okay, I need to be able to do a completely custom bike without breaking the bank without living in a shop for months. The shop makes money.
Yeah.
The customer's happy to pay the bill and comes and picks it up in a couple weeks and got a bike that's completely transformed but didn't break the bank. Wife's happy, he's happy. But then he can come back, you know, when he's got a couple extra grand and do a little this and do a little that.
Yeah.
And that's the way I set it up. So when I built my first bike, like I used stock fork legs, stock cans, because I wanted people to see that you didn't have to go extreme.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of running it that way with our builds to let people know that you don't have to go crazy. You know, this, like the bike sitting here on this lift, as we talk about this bike is an '09. It was a Street Glide converted into a Road Glide, and it was a complete disaster. This guy called himself a builder working out of his garage, okay? And we went down to Galveston to pick it up, and of course the pictures on Craigslist looked good. And he wanted $8,100 for it. Well, I knew I wasn't going to pay $8,100 when I got down there anyways. And I went down there. All the bolts were corroded. The wheels were corroded. Everything was corroded. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, dude. And he converted to Road Glide. The wiring was hanging out of the fairing. Like, you had to hit a button over here, to hit a button over here, to hit a button over here to make it start.
Yeah.
He's like, you want to take it for a ride? And I was like, hell no. As long as it starts, buddy. So I tore it apart in his driveway. I was like, you want this stuff? Because I don't need it. Bags, tour pack. So I got it for $7,000. And I think we got we kept the Road Glide fairing and some stuff. Then I brought it back, and I got a parts buyer in town. So he bought the rest of the stuff off there. And so I got $6,300 in the bike.
Yeah.
And then we did our base kit to it. The wheels cleaned up. It's amazing what steel will do to chrome. So, you know, it had chrome legs, chrome cans, chrome wheels. I mean, the wheels are immaculate now. There's not a scratch on them. We bought some new rotors for it. Powder coated a few things on the motor to clean it up. Painted it black. And it's a badass bike. I mean,
I guess that's one of the good things is that, like, you can do this style of bike in like that like that 09 to, you know, probably, I know you can get a lot of good deals on 09, 10s, 11s, 12s right now, you know, especially Road Glides and Road Kings and all this shit out there.
Dude, and the thing is, you don't have to buy a clean bike. Like, you buy a clean title, but it can be a lightly wrecked bike. I mean, we just had a dealer, he bought a 2017 Road King, which is a Milwaukee 8. He bought it for $8,500 and put our kit in.
Yeah. And I mean, with like the culture of like people wanting bikes to rip around, like some guy that has like an ultra classic or a Street Glide or Road Glide or something like that, you know, him and his wife get on, you know, a lot of my friends are starting to, from the bagger world, are starting to see how fun it is. And like a lot of people didn't understand why I went to Dynas and FXRs. They're like, dude, why would you go from the king of motorcycle shit, you know, like, or just price wise at least, to these little $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 bikes? And it's like, man, it's fun. It's fun to like have a bike that you can, you know, split lanes if you have to, or just, you know, jump off a curb because you're not worried about the back end of your bag slapping it and stuff.
Yeah. And, you know, I'll be honest, dude, like when I built the bikes, I never even thought about any of that. I never thought about, well, it's going to handle this way.
Yeah.
It's going to be lighter. It's this or that. And then I went and rode it. I fell in love, dude. I was like, this is fucking awesome.
Well, baggers in general, they are like between me and my buddy Mark, you know, you met or talking to him from Texas Performance. Dude, Road Glides and just the bagger frame and suspension setup, it's like, it handles like a fucking, like amazing. They ride on rails is what Mark always says, you know?
Yeah, they do. They ride good. And a lot of people say, you know, I saw a lot of people in the beginning when we released these, like, why the fuck would you do that to a bagger? You just ruined a bagger. And they're like, dude, you don't understand. The center of gravity is better. We just dropped 200 pounds off the bike. Like, this is a fucking monster to ride. Like, it's fun now. And they handle so good. And dropping 200 pounds off these makes such a difference, man, in how they handle. And then, you know, you don't have to lower them. My personal bikes are lowered, and they handle awesome. But, you know, our shocks are adjustable. You can ride them up or down. But this is really the envelope to let people customize it and take it to the extreme. Like, you know, I have some plans. I think I'm going to build Kelly the next bike, and I've got some plans for her, like something totally radical. the extreme version of this.
Yeah, yeah.
But still tilt it up, kick the kickstand, hit the button and go.
Yeah.
Not air ride it out and all that crazy shit where you're working all the time.
That scene, man, that whole culture, that I think more people, just like, I think exactly what happened with choppers is what is happening now. It's like, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I might have it polished out, I don't know. But with choppers, it got so wild that when people would start dumping tons of money, the rideability and reliability of the bike started getting compromised just got to a point where it was like, they weren't fun to ride. It was like you didn't ride it for 2 weeks and you came out and your air rod's busted out on a chopper, or the carb is filled with, it's fucked.
Yeah.
But with the baggers, it's kind of got to that point as well now where people are dropping so much money in a stereo and so much money in this. They're frying stators and rectifiers, or they're, what really pushed me out was whenever I was selling those air ride kits and they were having problems with those fucking, those Corvette shocks. So I would literally put an air ride kit on a bike. The dude would leave and call me the next day in the middle of nowhere and be like, hey, dude, the air rod blew out. And now I got to go fix it on the side of the road or trailer it back to my shop. And the only thing I get to do is send that shock back to the company that sold it, and they send it back. They're not paying the labor on the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
that's the shitty part. I mean, that's, that's the downside of it. That's the world we live in. I mean, if somebody's part goes out, they give you a new part, and that's cool, but you're out to labor as a shop. I mean, that sucks. But, the air ride stuff, it's funny that, that the whole Monroe shocks.
Yeah.
I never, ever had an issue with them.
I didn't either until there was just what it was a bad batch that went out, and pretty much every air ride kit that went out in this time frame from this company, which is a great company. Dirty Air was selling them, and they're a great company.
Yeah.
They just had a bad batch of shocks, and they weren't making the shocks. It was Monroe.
Right.
And I had one bike where 3 or 4 shocks went out.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I never had a problem. I mean, I'm, happy that we didn't. But I laugh at these guys. They make a big deal about, you didn't thread the fittings on with stainless steel this and stainless steel that.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, those Monroes have been running on cars, factory cars,
Yeah.
for years with the same fittings, get way more use than our motorcycles, and they don't have problems. Like, what makes you think you're gonna have a problem? Just install it right.
Dude, I rode from Monument, from the other side, from the east side of the Grand Canyon, on one shock, all the way to Vegas on one shock on my bagger.
The one I did the neck for you, that one.
Yeah, that one. And then my buddy Brad that was with me, his shock blew 20 miles after mine, and he rode in. So we ended up we were going to Vegas.
You just blocked off the line.
We just teed it off to one and ran it. And we made it, and then we went, and fortunately Sean from TOL had an extra set of shocks there, so the next morning we woke up and went over there, and he slapped them on for us, and Dirty Air sent him new shocks, and we were back on the road, didn't have a problem anymore.
Oh, that's crazy.
It was weird.
It's crazy.
But it's just different, man.
You put some miles on that bike.
Yeah, dude, I did like about 60,000 miles on that bike from 2012 till the last day I rode that bike was 2016 at the Parowitz Paint Show. I rode it to the Parowitz Paint Show in Sturgis. I rode it back to our cabin, and I had trailered my Dyna up there that year. So we took a trailer just in case we had a big group that went with us, just in case we had a problem. And I ended up parking the bagger on the trailer there, and I rode the Dyna home, and then that was the last time I ever rode that bagger. I mean, it wasn't that it was like the Dyna was so much better. It was just that, like, when I got home, I was kind of over it. I wanted to sell the bike, so I ended up like making moves with that bike. And then I rode the Dyna, and then that just was the beginning of everything I've been doing now,
That's really cool.
That that's one thing that a lot of people have talked about. It's like, oh man, you can't ride these big wheels, and you totally can. Now, can you ride them as hard as, like, say, some of us or some people I know can ride, Dynas and FXRs through canyons and curvy roads? Fuck no. But you can still travel.
You could if you want to fuck a lot of shit up.
Yeah, you could. You can drag your ass around it, but it just depends on the rider and the type of riding that person wanted to do on the bike and shit. So I don't know.
But your bike was built right.
It was. I mean, it was welded. Yeah. I've never been a fan of that bolt-on neck stuff. I would never do it out of my shop.
Yeah.
I felt like there was just seen too many people wreck with bolt-on necks,
Yeah.
you know, and you take those things. I mean, dude, so you did the neck for mine, and then, you know, 120 down the highway, 26-inch wheel, 120, take my hands off. I didn't have cruise control that fast, but I could take my hands off and no issues, you know.
No, that I did your neck. I welded it.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah, no problems.
So it's just I don't know, man. Like I'm excited to see the culture just of motorcycles, how, you know, how it's evolving, and I think with the style of bikes that you're building and the type of products you're putting out, and the craze of a different type of riding is getting more popular. It's just interesting to see where the industry is going. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, we try to do something that's affordable. Now there's a way to do these that aren't affordable.
Yeah.
You know, that's cool. That's what the builders. It's what I want
It's up
people
to them.
do. You know, and I'm going to do it. You know, I'm going to build that next level. I mean, just putting a nasty motor in them can make them not affordable for somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, but I mean, we've out of the gate. You know, we've had a hard road because we're doing something so different. And getting the early adapters to come on board. But it's, you know, Jeff Hull did his bike, DA, you know, there's a couple other bikes out there. Matt from Full Moon, you know, he brought his on the Power Tour. And, you know, I've built some that I haven't even put on the website because they were for some corporations. But, you know, they're getting a lot of traction. We got a guy in Hawaii that built one. I think there's probably, you know, about 20 or 25 of them out there now. There's in stages of being built for sure. So it's pretty cool to see it. It's coming on, and I'm excited about it because if it does anything close to what the baggers did, I'm going to kick ass. Like, you know, but I've got no expectation, dude. I just want to enjoy motorcycling again. Honestly, I got to where the old company grew up into something that I didn't want it to be. Yeah. As much as I wanted it to be a big, giant, you know,
mogul,
parts manufacturer and doing cool shit and doing big things, like it got out of hand. And
it's got to be hard too, man, to get that big and keep it all in check. I mean, I can't imagine, man. I can't imagine being, you know, on that level of what that company was and all the shit that it had. I mean, it pretty much ran the industry.
It had a lot of potential, and it was on its way. It just had, you know, unfortunately, like for me, I traveled a lot. You know, I took that semi everywhere. I mean, I had that thing parked in the middle of a rock concert in LA for 3 days. I mean, who does that? You know, and it's what was the purpose? What's branding? You know what I mean? Like I did some stuff that was different than everyone else. That's kind of the way, you know, I try to do things. I try to do things outside the box. Not that my way's better,
but you're trying to try new shit.
Yeah, I'm trying new stuff and trying to brand in a different way to where you don't get caught up. Like, for example, nothing against Arizona, but I've never gone and set up at Arizona Bike Week. Why? Because there's 5,000 other builders right there. Like, I mean, it's not 5,000, but there's, I mean, that's the Mecca.
You start everybody's trying to take from the same pot instead of being the company that's like, I like to look at it as try to inspire new people to come into your world. Yeah. Like, hey man, look what we're doing over here. I know you're not into bikes. Well, check out all the fun we're having. And you start bringing more people and outsiders in, then you get away from all that fucking Facebook chat room drama. You get, you know, and all these fucking tribal, like, people clicking with their shop and then jumping online and talking shit for their shop. It's so much fucking drama in everything from the Dyna culture to the bagger culture to I'm sure the chopper shit. Just that back day in the day in the chopper shit, they didn't have instant access to Facebook and
you
Instagram.
Didn't hear about it until you were out drinking beer. And fuck this guy and fuck that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's like, I mean, it's a great thing. Like the technology that we have now, like the social media shit's great for business. It's just, it's really hard to like I'm not good at when people troll on me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm not good at that because I want everybody to like me and what I'm doing, and I'm trying to be a real happy, positive kind of person. You know what I mean? And you get people in there that just start running their mouth, and you're like, and you just immediately defend yourself, and that's why that's what they're doing. They're trying to get
they're
you to
feeding off that.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. I watch it and I see it, and it's hard to keep your mouth shut, especially when it's on your page. But you look at, I don't care, pick one of the most successful celebrities, right? That's got an Instagram page, and they get hundreds of thousands of views on something, right? If you go look at it, even though everyone's liking it, it's negative after negative after negative comment. Nobody can be happy.
You know what the funny thing is about it? Whether it's a negative or positive comment, it's just helping your post and your shit get more views. All that shit makes it more reachable to other people.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like when someone keeps commenting on my shit saying, oh, man, use this. I'm like, dude, you're just helping my shit stay on the top of the feed of everybody else getting online.
It's funny, man. The drama. Whew, man.
It's
crazy.
I don't know, man. It's one of those deals. A lot of people just they don't got nothing better to do, man.
No, for sure. So let's talk about that for a second on social media, because I've been holding out on something because it's going to air on TV. But when we first built these, of course, I didn't care about weight, or I didn't care about how they performed. It was all about looks, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that was the main principle behind it, was something different, something affordable, like I said.
Yeah.
And we were coming back from a trip, and I said, man, we should weigh these things. And there's no scales around here, right? And I don't know anybody with any like hot rod scales. Yeah. The hot rod guys I know have done closed up. But so we were going through just north of here, and there was a cat scale. Mm-hmm. So I unloaded a bike, one bike in the trailer, put it on the scales, just in the trailer. Mm-hmm. Truck was off. Weighed it. Read the numbers before and after, right? Put the bike in the trailer and out. Did the numbers, and the bike came in weighing 383 pounds. And I was like, there's no way. Yeah. And then I kind of ran the numbers in my head of, how much does a drivetrain weigh, motor, these things. And I'm like, well, it's close. Yeah. So I convinced myself that number must be right. So I waited about a week, and I really thought about it, and I said, fuck it, let's go back. So we drove back to the scales, a different bike, the same bike, but, different paint job, basically. A little less chrome. Put it across the scales, the same exact number. Said the bike weighed 383 pounds. So I was like, this is pretty fucking cool. And I mean, the bikes, if you ride one, you would swear it is only 400 pounds, right? Yeah. Or 383. So I said, fuck it, let's make this little post. So I posted a before and after picture, and then said, the weight. I don't remember what I said. I might have said it was 400 pounds. Yeah. Like, I wasn't convinced it was 383, so I said 400 or whatever. And I mean, our social media was so new, I didn't think anybody even see it. Of course, it took off, and everybody shared it, and Hot Bike shared it, and then everyone's just like, fuck you, there's no way, and all this. But I mean, it was good because we got a lot of attention, but it wasn't my intention to lie to anybody, right? Yeah, exactly. So we're doing in February, an episode of Toy Makers comes out. I don't know if you've ever seen Toy Makers.
I've heard of it, yeah.
They got picked up by History Channel, so it's pretty cool. We did an entire build on his show. So they gave him a 2009 Ultra Road King. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, dude, this thing had everything on it. It had a freaking compass. It had a clock on the handlebars. I mean, there wasn't anything this bike didn't have. Yeah. So we weighed it. And it was like, I had to pull out my phone to get the exact weight, but I think it was 876, right? Mm-hmm. They had scales there in the shop, brand new set of scales. So we're like, we're going to make this part of the episode. Yeah. So they weighed it 876, and of course, when we weighed it, we put both wheels on scale and the kickstand on a scale. So when it was leaned over, it was completely all of its own weight. Yeah. And we built the bike, and part of the end of the episode is, all right, let's weigh it. So we had an ongoing, everyone bet, how much is it going to weigh? And of course, I said 420, I think, or 425 or something. And everyone had their weights. And the bike came in weighing, I think, 673 or something, which is still light. And I was
like, fuck, you know,
Yeah.
because, you know, I was hoping it was going to be a lot lighter based on what we weighted on the scales, which, you know, that really bites. Maybe we should have went to a different scale.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it is what it is. They're truck scales, right? They can't be that accurate. Apparently, they're not. But anyways, the bikes weigh 676. So now y'all know how much one of our bikes weigh, which is still lighter, and it's still a hell of a lot more fun.
Yeah.
But, you know.
It's just one of those things, man. I think people look for any reason, any way. It's that outrage culture. Like, let's find a way to, like, blast anybody trying to do anything. And I don't know, man. It's just one of those deals. Dude, when people comment on my shit and say, you know, that paint job looks like someone else's paint job, I'm like, what the fuck? Oh my God. You know, it's like I tell everybody, it's like, man, you know, I'm sorry that I didn't invent colors that haven't been done before and invent color schemes that haven't been done before. All these different things, man. You just kind of...
It's all been done before.
It's all been done, you know, but, you know, I don't know, man. Like, it's just one of those deals. You just got to... I try not to get involved. Like, I've been stepping back a lot on social media myself, just trying to focus on all the things that I got going on between the shop and this podcast, and I found myself becoming like a promoter for a lot of shit, you know, and it just gets you get kind of weighed in on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love bikes, man. I really do, and I'm trying, and not that I'm feeling that way, but because I've known so many people in the industry, I see that the deeper you get into bikes in the industry, it's kind of easy for you to get into a part where you hate bikes. Not hate them like, oh, fuck bikes, I can't stand them, but just hate all the shit that's satelliting around the bike. The drama here, or the trying to keep up with the Joneses there.
Yeah.
Or, you know, just all the shit, man, you know?
Listen, I tell you, that's one of the biggest things. It was... Number one, it was hard for me to decide to either walk away from the business or dive right back into it. And I knew if I did, I had to take a different tactic at it, you know,
Yeah.
because I got to where I wasn't enjoying motorcycles anymore. And like most of us in this business, nobody just woke up one day when they graduated college and said, I'm going to go I'm not going to say nobody, but graduated college and went, I'm going to go be a motorcycle parts manufacturer. You know, it's usually because you're passionate about it. And you read a lot of things about the motorcycle industry, you know, and where people come from. So it's a passion type business.
Yeah, they usually graduate from college, go work somewhere else, and start fucking with bikes in their garage, and then find that they have real enjoyment of what they create.
Yeah, whether graduated or not graduated, doesn't even matter. But yeah, so I knew that I didn't want to lose the love of the business or
just the bike.
The bikes, right? I enjoyed building motorcycles. I enjoyed riding them before, and I lost that love with where we went with the old company. So I told myself, look, I'm going to build bikes for people. If you're getting a bike from Epic, built, it's going to be my hands that build it. I'm not bringing in, number one, I'm not going to do a lot of it as it is. So if you get a bike built by me, it's a pretty big deal. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm not a big deal. I'm just saying, like, I don't intend.
You don't want to make this a big operation like the previous endeavors. You know what I mean?
No. So I want to get to where, like, I build you a motorcycle, I enjoy it, and if I build the bike, I don't have to worry about it. Like, doesn't mean shit doesn't go wrong, but, you know, when we were building bikes before, all of a sudden, I'm driving the semi across the country. I've got all these guys in the shop building the bikes. They all kind of, even though they're supposed to follow a
guideline.
Yeah, a guideline of how we do stuff. Everyone does what they want to do, especially as much as I was on the road, which was part of the problem. And then, you know, get to a rally and there's misfit bikes running around everywhere, and so-and-so's got a problem and so-and-so's got a problem, you know, this and that. And I'm like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to live that life again. So, you know, I'm building the bikes and I'm enjoying it. And like, I've got a 79 FXC, one owner.
Damn.
that I'm building into a chopper for a guy.
Dude, I've been telling a lot of people, man, I really feel like the vintage chopper thing has been pretty big, or at least social media wise, it's been a big thing. There's not a lot of money in that shit, you know what I mean? But it's cool, you know what I mean? It's the cool thing to be into. But I really feel like there's a lot of people that are starting to go back down that route of like wanting CFLs and that style of bike again. I think it's coming back in a maybe not a huge movement like it did before in the early 90s, but I know a lot of people that's got some projects, like not over the top 300 back towers, but a nice 180, raked out, cool looking, chopper.
And that's what this is going to be. I mean, he said, look, he says 70s period correct, but we're not doing stuff that's period correct, really. I mean, we're going to make it cool, and it's not going to be a real expensive bike.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're doing a drum brake on the rear, no front brake, like it's got a 40-inch sissy bar and a king and queen seat, like, you know what I mean? It's going to be cool, but we got a one owner 79 shovel, and we're taking the drivetrain out and putting it in a chopper we're building for him, which is going to be pretty cool. But I mean, that's the things I get to enjoy that again, no matter what Epic does and how it grows. And I've got big plans for Epic and where it's going. I mean, there's a whole another side of this that I've got in the plans for future that's not even related to building Harley Davidsons. It's not, it's a whole different animal. But I've got plans for the Indian. I've got plans for Softails and other models. But, this is where we're at today as a touring bikes. And I'm going to carry this style with me through the rest of the brand. I think these style of parts, like on the Softail line, is going to be huge, because that platform of the new Softails is like, they handle great. They're really good bikes, but they just need some more options for people to customize them. And a lot of people is like dove into them. A lot of the Dyna culture and FXR culture have really only taken what was already there and put it on these bikes. No one's really, I say no one, like I think Speed King, there's been a couple of companies that's really went out of the box in designing and doing some cool shit, but it's still like a small amount of people. It's not. Well, the problems with Softails, I think, has always been like, it's a smaller bike. It's an expensive bike. Mm-hmm. And the motors before the Milwaukee 8, you make a lot of power.
Well, the old ones, like, I mean, you only really want to go with the M8 motors, that Softail Ford. The old Softail, you just do some dirty bird shit to that thing.
Yeah, I'm not even interested in all that. It's the monoshock is what I'm into for sure, and what we have plans for. But I mean, our mid controls, we're pretty sure that they'll work on even the old Softails,
the old ones,
and the new ones, because the drivetrain is pretty much the same. So there's a part there we just haven't had time to check and make sure it works. I'm pretty sure it does, but that's a pretty cool component. I mean, in itself, mid control on that bike is pretty rad, especially being just a bolt on.
Yeah, just a bolt on setup. Yeah.
Not
have to drill out your primary and pull the whole thing in and out or out. Yeah.
No, and I mean, I don't know if I even had a chance to really show you our new mid controls when
I saw them a little bit at the Southern Throwdown. Man, it's crazy, because like all these new Softails, like that's been an issue and a joke on our podcast. Basically, is everything Harley's doing, it's forward controls, right? And now that I've ridden bikes with mid controls, I fucking love them. You know what I mean? And so like the new Sport Glide, like we're building one of the Sport Glides for a close friend of mine for like Maverick Harley and some shit for us. Mm-hmm. And they put forward controls on the Sport Glide, right? And there's really no financial option to change it to mid controls that's relatively feasible. Like it should have been an option on that bike instead of a standard forward control, and so we've been talking about doing floorboards on it, because you could take the Heritage floorboards and put them on the Sport Glides, but it's just that forward control, man. It's just like
I think the problem is, Jace, is and I don't know, I haven't been around long enough, but all the bikes that came with mid controls, people ripped them off and put forward controls on there.
That's because the times have changed. You know what I mean? Like I was talking to my buddy that works at he's just in the dealership circuit, but he's like really close to Milwaukee and stuff. He works in Milwaukee at one of the dealerships, and he was like, everything Harley does, every decision that comes to the showroom, was decided on 5 years ago. This could be false. I'm just saying this is what I heard from a source. So it's like when they decided to kill the Dyna, 5 years before they did that, Sons of Anarchy was just kind of coming out, and that Dyna culture's always been huge on the West Coast. But through that show and through Instagram, the Dyna culture is now big everywhere, right? So Harley couldn't have thought that was going to be that way. And then so it brought all these people wanting to ride bikes in a more aggressive manner than just the some tassels and forward controls and and the whips hanging off the goddamn handlebars. So now there's a lot of people that are into Harleys now because of something that was already on the table, and now they took that away from them, and they're like, well, what the fuck? The Softail's not been popular in a long time.
No. There's a lot of reasons for that, but I mean, Softails are cool if they're done right, but the new one is
fine, yeah. But the old ones,
badass for sure. Yeah, I dig them, and I can't wait to get my hands on one. But
well, just 5 years, man. That's a long time in this industry that's changing fairly quickly. 5 years ago, dude, baggers were the king shit in the motorcycle world. Yeah. 5 years ago, that was probably the peak.
5 years ago was the peak.
And now it's still here and it's still keeping a lot of people in business, but it's definitely declining a lot.
It amazes me as I drive around the country. I put on a lot of miles, and I go to shops. Let's just say shops in Colorado, right? Mm-hmm. And you look at things and like nobody's building baggers. Mm-hmm. But then you go to Chicago, and they're still freaking flying off the shelf.
I think it has to do with the terrain. I think it has to do with the type of riding that's associated to the area. I mean, the big wheel thing never really kicked off that hardcore in Cali. In Arizona, yeah, it was pretty. It's obviously that's kind of like that's where the meteor hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in Cali, like the SoCal never got that big, really, at all. Honestly, in NorCal, it got fairly decent. But it never trumped the Dynas and FXRs. It was already kind of had a stronghold up there.
Yeah, just different, man. But I mean, I don't think the big wheels will ever die.
I don't think it will either. No.
I think there'll always be that show bike scene out there. But I mean, I see some guys doing some cool stuff with big wheels, and I'm like, that was cool. I wouldn't mind doing one again. I'm over it right now.
Yeah.
But I've got ideas. I built a lot of cool big wheel baggers, and they were fun to ride, and but they're not fun to ride like these. I mean, these are just fuck, man. Well, on road, off road, whatever you want to do, you're gonna go do it.
This last weekend, we went down to the Simpson party down in New Braunfels, and we've been having this guy. His name's Cody, and he has a 30-inch big wheel. On a brand new Street Glide, right? 30-inch, all decked out, long bags, everything. And but he's been hanging out with us. Like he went to our big camp out in Oklahoma, and we rode Talamina Highway. And this weekend we were down in New Braunfels riding all those roads out there. And for the most part, he's just hanging around all of us on our kind of like more performance, I guess, air quotes, bikes. I mean, the one thing is like, he pulls into a parking lot, and every fucking buddy and their mom walks up to him and pats him on the back and says, "Hey, man, your shit's badass." And I remember telling him, I was like, "Man, you know what? I've been kind of like giving you a hard time for your bike, but I get it, man. That shit feels good." That shit feels good when everybody's like, "Hey, dude, your shit's badass." It kind of gives you like this, fuck yeah, like makes your day better.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's a wow factor to those people that don't know a lot about bikes, and even the ones that do, man. Like we had to sit at Harley for like 30 minutes waiting on this couple that was oohing and ahhing over his bike. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that's cool.
It's the same thing, man. If you've got a nice car on a set of donks,
yeah,
you can't not look.
Yeah,
you're right. I mean, so it's kind of
it's still there.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But I think the one thing that's cool about my dude Cody is he's out there riding. He lives out in East Texas. He rode up to Oklahoma. He rode up to down south. He's down to ride everywhere on this bike, and I think that's the coolest thing to me, regardless of what you're riding, as long as you're riding it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. If they're done right, they're rideable, and that you can enjoy it. I mean, But this is the performance bagger, what we're doing, the naked bagger. It's a different culture, different riding style. You know.
And you know, that's the cool thing is a lot of guys, right, can only have one bike.
True. I'm that guy again. I had a lot of bikes, but I got to grow up.
And that's okay. But where do you do most of your riding? Well, you ride a lot though,
Yeah.
so you're a bad example for us to talk about. But let's talk about the average guy who's got a 9-to-5
Yeah.
job, who once every 3 weeks gets to pull his bike out of the garage and do something unfamily related, right?
Yeah.
He may ride across country or to Galveston from here, which is,
Yeah.
6 hours, once a year. The rest of the time, he's got this big, heavy touring bike that he could be having fun with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's cool about our kid. He doesn't even take the Roguelike fairing off or the Street Glide fairing off if he doesn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
He could leave that on, just run our back end, and when he wants to do that long haul,
You can put it back on.
in 2 hours, put it back on. The
Yeah.
wiring system's plug and play in the back. I mean, nothing's been molested from the factory. And even if he goes extreme and does the whole kit,
It's a little more work in the front, but it's no.
it's a little more work in the front, but it's really not a big deal. I
Yeah.
mean, and honestly, one of these, and we haven't done one yet, but the new Road Glide fairing dropped down about 1.5 inches and you can pull back just a little bit. I think would look fucking awesome with our kit. It look really cool. And
Yeah.
the guy's got his stereo and a little glove box and,
Yeah, a little bit of
creature
wind
comforts
protection.
and wind protection. And he's got, just a super cool bike. So, I mean,
Well, that's good that it's integratable or easily changeable without doing any major modifications to the actual bike itself.
Yeah,
Like,
and I
that's a
mean,
good thing.
Firsthand, if these big wheel bikes,
You're married
once
to it.
you're not taking it back to the dealership. I mean, you get some dealerships are cool if you know them.
Yeah.
But the average guy, you're not walking into the dealership and getting your bike worked on. They don't want to service it. They don't want to touch it.
Yeah, and that's what worries me about a lot of people that's invested tons and tons of money in those bikes. And, like I can't tell you how many people I've heard like, dude, this is it. I've been saving my whole life for something like this. And you're like, fuck, man, that's awesome that you finally got it. That's really awesome. But it sucks that it's almost over or that it's not popular anymore. And it's just
But when I got in, when I actually had a shop and started building a lot of the choppers and Pro Streets and bobbers, a lot of my clients came in that were older. And they said, look, I've been waiting my entire life. Kids are out of school, off to college, out of college, all that stuff's out of the way. Here's a check.
Yeah.
Make me my bike. So to them, that's okay.
It doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
They've been waiting their whole life
Good
for
point,
that.
yeah.
So big deal. But I mean, for you and me and a lot of the guys that are, involved in the mecca of the industry, you get tired of things. That's why you do this, right?
Yeah.
'Cause you want a new bike all the time.
I've had 6 bikes this year.
Really?
So I need to calm the fuck down is what I need to do.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
that's
get
what's
it.
fun, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what's cool about this stuff is build it and build the next one and build it and
Yeah.
build the next one. And, that's what's fun. But for some people, they've waited their entire life, right? You don't want to say their entire life, but
Right.
half their life to have
Yeah.
something like this. And they're going to keep it forever. I mean, I know guys that I built choppers for still have them. Do they ride them? Hell no.
It's just
They don't have time to ride them.
Yeah.
But they have them in the garage. Their buddy comes over, they fire it up, and they go out in the driveway, and everybody takes pictures and high five, and he rides it around the block, and he comes back, and that's it.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point, man. And I think that's what's awesome about just all the shit in bikes is that there's it does so many different things for so many different people. Like, someone like me who's hardcore bikes and, ride it and do this. It's like, I used to have a lot more of a really like strict idea that you had to be a rider. But now, after talking to a lot of people, especially through this podcast and hearing other perspectives, like, I get it. Like, me and Sean from TOL used to kind of go at it back and forth because Sean doesn't really like to ride bikes, but he loves building them. And I just was like, well, to me, I was like, well, that you're halfway there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now I get it that there's like this great joy out of creating something, like creating a bike. I mean, imagine if it was a house builder, like, oh, you built that house, but you don't live in it. What kind of fucking fag are you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of the same thing. There's got
But honestly, I'm kind of that way. So I like to ride motorcycles, but I'm very
You're busy.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm busy, but I like to ride where I want to ride. Like,
Yeah.
I grew up riding in the mountains in Colorado.
Yeah.
I grew up riding Highway 9 and you know, going over to Santa Cruz in California, Northern
Yeah.
California. So I rode all those hills. That's
That's pretty,
fun,
pretty
right?
epic. Yeah.
And you get to Texas, and, you know, Kelly and I go ride country roads all the time. Like, we go down to Dallas. It takes us 6 hours to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We go country roads, and we have a good time. Like, riding on the freeway is not my thing. I don't even enjoy it.
Yeah, it does suck.
I mean, some people love it. I mean, I've got an uncle who's got millions of miles, and the guy can freaking pilot a plane. You know what I mean? Like, but he loves to ride, and the freeway miles don't bother me. It's not my thing. So I get what Sean's saying, and I do. And that's one of the things I wanted to get back to is it used to be when I built somebody a bike, I got so much enjoyment out of building it for them and then seeing their face.
Yeah.
When they got to hear it run. And I just tried to have them there when we'd fired up for the first time and, you know, all that. But when you got to see somebody smile so big and be so happy and their entire family gets engaged because they knew they were waiting for this motorcycle, and it's this whole big deal, like, it's emotional.
It is.
Doing something like that for somebody, you know, and I'm not, even the cookie cutter bikes, you get
it's
a
still
little
there,
bit of that. Yeah.
Dude, I know exactly what you mean with that, because I've had customers, like older people, that they would put so much effort into this paint job, and this paint job would mean so much to them. And I was like, fuck, man, like, this is just another flame job, you know, to me. But to them, man, that's big. It's big time for them. So it's like, when they would, you know, send me all their ideas, and they're calling and they're happy, and every time they come by the shop, they bring me a new Harley t-shirt from the dealership they pass on the way.
And you get frustrated. And it's not out of frustration with them, but you get it from so many people, and you're just a victim of your environment almost, you know. It sucks.
It sucks. It does. You know, and I've always, man, like, I can't remember who I heard this from, but they were talking about how, you know, it might have been you. I don't know who I heard this from, but there's like an experience for a customer to build a car or a bike or something. And sometimes these people with a lot of money just like that experience of, like, getting update pics or sitting down with a builder and oh, you know, what do you think about, let's build this bike. So it makes them feel part of something bigger than themselves, or whatever the case, however you want to look at that.
Well, a lot of people, they come in on the ground with you and they build something, then they tell their friends, I built that bike.
Yeah.
You know what? But, and I don't mean like, they're not saying like they physically built it. That's not what they're trying to say.
They just had, like,
it was their ideas that you were able to
Yeah.
put together for them.
And so I get it. Like, I get the idea of, like, having been a part of the process. You know what I mean? Like, because I've never been on that end of the stick. You know, I've never walked into a shop and said, hey, man, this is what I think about, and this is money that I obviously don't even have to this day to build it. You know what I mean? So I don't identify as much as I wish I did with that customer, but I do see the enjoyment and the excitement that they have, and I try to, like, be very I try to be more mindful of that, I guess, you know. But fuck, man, like, the last couple of years, now that all our work's coming through, you know, social media, and it's out of state, like, we don't really have a lot of face-to-face interaction with our customers anymore. And so sometimes you kind of lose it. Like, I haven't really had that customer experience in a while. So it's kind of like, now I just, like, turn my phone off all day long so I can get work done, and then turn it back on for a couple of hours.
Yeah, it's definitely changing that for sure. Like, I'll tell you, you know, and I haven't had that in a while either. The military bike I built, that guy that we built it for, never met him. Got lined up with him from the Moore Foundation, and I called him, talked to him. This is what we're going to do. Months went by, never even heard from him. And one day he called. He called and he said, "Hey, I just want to know, you know, like, you know, should I expect to be here when it's done, or should we go here, or what?" He said, "I don't want to bother you."
Wow.
And I was like, "Wow, this is weird." You know what I mean? Like, usually everyone's right up your ass trying to find out, you know, let me see this and let me see that. I'm going to tell you. I mean, it was a pretty cool experience. But I'm going to tell you, like, we delivered the bike to Colorado to him, and I got to meet him and his wife. And they were some of the nicest people I've ever built a bike for. Like appreciative. I mean, it's still kind of surreal, like to actually experience having a customer like that, because there's not very many of them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of customers, you build a lot of bikes for customers, and time is never on your side, you know what I mean? And by the end, everyone's happy, but
there's ups and downs.
Yeah, there's ups and downs. Yeah. It's an emotional relationship, right? Because usually a guy waiting for his motorcycle to be built, that's his motorcycle. He wants to ride it tomorrow. He wants to go show his buddies. He's spending all this money. Wife knows he's spending this money. It's just a brutal experience, right? So by the end, it's just like, get that one out of here. But this couple, he never ever called, never even cared about the bike. Like, number one, he wasn't building it for himself. He was building it to support the foundation and help them raise awareness, right? And I met them and I said, look, we're going to Capital City Bike Fest, because we're doing the Toy Maker show, and I'll bring the bike up there, and hopefully that we can get it on TV on the episode. And that didn't work out. Just craziest thing ever. This world is what it's coming to is it's all about money, right?
Everything, yeah.
And the way the network works, they don't want to do anything that would jeopardize their market. So because that vehicle was patriotic, they decided not to air it because they didn't want to hurt their international ratings.
Wow.
And I was like, wow.
That's what, leading into something else with that shit, man. That's what's been an ongoing conversation with me and a lot of my friends about like TV shows and whether or not we would want to, even take an offer to have a TV show when, YouTube and podcasts and social media, you can get way more famous on your own terms. Yeah. Or way more work. Like there's no pitch anymore. There's no pitch for the magazine. Like, hey, dude, like, what? You want to buy a fucking page ad now in a magazine that's going to get thrown away in 17 days and the new one comes out? Like, fuck no, for $3 fucking grand. And it's never, you know what I mean? So there's like a lot of things that are just kind of over, And it's a crazy transitional period, man.
So, get back to this Rick, Kurth is his name. They come and, I spent 3 days with them. And I spent all my time with them. Like, they were just so awesome, the most caring couple I've ever built a bike for, and I really enjoyed that experience. And I've realized, like, that's the kind of experiences I want to have with people again, you know what I mean? Yeah. This thing where you get carried away and all that. That's, again, why I want to just, if you're getting a bike from me, you're getting it from me.
Well, the other thing that happens when you get that kind of customer experience is that you become more excited about working on it and it's less of a job, which means that you technically are going to put more emphasis in the work that you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to like if it becomes like a, fuck man, this guy's calling again and he wants answers. Basically, the less you have to explain yourself as an adult, whether you're in a business or not, the more happy you can be while you're working on shit and the better the products come out.
Yeah, but there's two sides to that coin, right? Because a lot of people have been burned.
Yeah.
I get a drink.
All right, go ahead.
They had something done at another shop and, this and that. And so now you're the second one to get them and now they're paranoid, right? Or they heard a horror story about this or that. Yeah. And,
but you don't want to start a relationship with things that were bad in their other relationship.
No, but I mean, hey, listen, how many girlfriends have you had like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? They come with a lot of baggage, I mean, that's people in life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you start a project for somebody and it's already got all this negative vibes, and then that customer, says, oh, this builder did me that way and this way and that way, and then you find out the customer's actually the nightmare.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. It doesn't even matter how much money they're paying. when they're such a pain in the ass, you want nothing more to get that thing out of your life.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's an exhaust job or an air cleaner.
Yeah.
Or putting a tune on a bike or a set of handlebars.
It does, man. It drains you, and like, you know, you can get you can have such a huge emotional roller coaster with going to work. You can literally go in there one day, be fucking on cloud nine. Fuck yeah, I'm ready to rock this bitch out, and then customer calls with anything almost, you know, and it just puts you in that fuck, man. Like whether it's a time deadline or more parts, or he thought about it all weekend, and him and his buddy decided they don't want to go this direction anymore. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that can take you up and down, but...
Oh, yeah. They said that, you know, hey, we got this plan for the bike. And remember, let's just say it's a one-off bike, right?
Yeah.
You're fabricating all this crazy shit. And then he has a long weekend drinking beer with his buddies, and he calls Monday and says, hey, you know, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And it's like, look, man, I love it, but do you want to pay me to throw half of what we just did away? Well, no. It should be easy, right? You know, it's just tough. But, I mean, yeah, that's...
There's lots of different angles as to where it's complicated to do this for a living. But I think that what you're doing, and also what I'm kind of doing myself, is that you kind of grow to this level and you realize that the risk versus reward isn't quite as good. Sometimes it's like you got to grow to that level to get the name, to drop back down to a more comfortable operating speed of working on bikes and producing things to where you're enjoying it more, and you're less stressed, and you're less being ran through the ringer of trying to please. You know, earlier you were saying it's like you're married to a guy. Is what it's like when you're building someone's bike or you're painting their bike or something. It's like you're married to them every day. Hey man, how's it going? Like,
right, and it's just casual conversation.
It's casual conversation because now we have text. Like maybe 20 years ago when nobody can text you all day, they had to, you know, call in the shop. Hey man, how's things going? Like that was probably a little bit easier, but you know, you get a text message at 11 o'clock at night because you're working on a bike for a guy in Cali who is only 9 o'clock over there, and they're thinking, fuck, I'm going to see how Jason's doing.
It's still late, but I'm going to try anyways. Yeah. I mean, you know, unfortunately, that's the world we live in, and that really doesn't bother me. You know, I think I built my reputation on doing just that. You know, and it's hard with your family, right?
Exactly.
You know, I've got 3 kids and 2 dogs that are bigger than my kids, and you know, Kelly, and every you know, when I'm home, I've got to appease everybody, and Facebook's getting messages, Instagram's getting messages, you're getting text messages, you're getting phone calls, and it's 11 o'clock at night, and everyone's looking at me going, "Can you just put the phone away?" But you know what? I built my business, I built my reputation by helping everybody, whether it's the customer or a dealer or another builder asking questions. Like that's part of the culture that we live in, unfortunately and fortunately. You know, that's it's a double-edged sword for sure, but I think where that becomes a thorn in your side, and this is going to sound really bad, but the guy that called up and he bought, I don't know, a set of grips from you, and he's texting you at 2 a.m. because he doesn't know how to install grips, and the grips don't work. Which, you know, number one, I've never made grips.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. I did make grips. We had our own version of grips, but yeah, you know, I'm not a grip manufacturer, but there was never any issues with our grips. I'm using the most simple part I can think of, right? And he's just all night long. Now it's 3 o'clock in the morning. He's still texting you about these grips. And like the guy shouldn't even know how to handle a screwdriver.
Yeah.
That's where you get frustrated, right?
Yeah.
And then when the guy that has a general question is, you're already irritated, right?
Exactly.
So that buildup of the, you know, it only takes one turd in the punch bowl to ruin the punch. You know, that's kind of what's going on there. But I mean, I like helping people, and I don't mind it. And I'm happy to help anybody. Like, it doesn't matter. And, you know, what I found interesting growing up, looking at motorcycles in the magazines and always looking up to all the big dogs, right?
Yeah.
And when they were calling me, asking me questions about what we were doing with the big wheel bikes, like that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And of course I was happy to help them.
But, you know, like, I never ran around telling, oh, so-and-so called me and was asking me how to build a bike, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, who cares about that? But I think our community needs to be more open like that is what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what I promote, honestly, and with especially with us painters, because you know how painters are here in Dallas. Like, everybody's at each other's throat. You know, oh, fuck that shop, they can't do shit, man. Their paint jobs are peeling off and all that stuff. But me, like, I try to, like, I have so many paint shop friends across the country, so many. Like, it's awesome, you know. And instead of, like, you know, I promote like them. You know, I talk about people on the podcast. Hell, Valley Customs did the Epic Moto bike for
Jeff.
For Jeff, you know what I mean? They're, you know, G, that's one of my great friends over there. You know what I mean? There's lots of people out there that I think that because we're all cool, like, we all grow better. You know what I mean? And you know, and the other thing is like something me and G talked about a couple of times is like watching out for customers who try to pin shops against shops, because dude, there's a whole culture of guys out there that come into shops and stir up drama, and they go to the other shop and stir up drama, and next thing you know, like, they're just trying to get their bike built, but they're just talking, and next thing you know, they're in this shop's inner circle, and then, you know, then one day he's in town, decides to stop by another shop, and now he's dropping, you know, whatever was said in that inner circle to this new shop, and now there's drama between the shops that's never even talked to each other before.
Yeah, dude, that stuff's crazy. And, you know, you're right, man. I mean, if number one, pretty much everybody, and I don't care if you're a builder that can build everything from scratch, or you're a parts store that can assemble a really nice bike, and you may be able to turn out a bike with somebody's parts that looks better than they can.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there's
sure.
a lot of parts manufacturers that have a lot of nice parts and built a nice bike to get the brand out there. But there's parts...
There's better designers out there to use. They have
a better eye
have
to
better
take,
yeah.
you know, this guy's bags and that guy's side covers and this guy's wheels, and they package everything into a way cooler end product.
For sure.
Nobody out there really has the same style.
It's
they
true.
really don't. I mean, they like similar things, but, you know, it's like going to a pie shop. The cherry pie at that pie shop is not going to taste like the one down the street, right around the corner.
Yeah.
The same thing's happening with the bikes. Like, you know, and I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you firsthand, if I was going to have somebody in this industry build me a bike, it'd be Nick Trask, and that's it. I mean, and it's not even Nick's style. There's stuff that Nick does that I wouldn't like necessarily. I'd rather have it something a little bit different. But I could trust that what I'm getting is going to be good.
And it'll work and perform. And, you know.
And it's not even because he's the big horsepower performance guy. I just know that Nick cares about what he's turning out. But what I'm trying to say is, if you're that customer, you're going to that builder, that shop, whatever, for their style, their artistic view. And I see it so many times, and I didn't really live in that part because I tried to stay out of it with our shop. I had a little bit of it in Houston. But somebody would come in the shop and they say, I want a price for this and this and this and this. And, you know, then they'd go back to somebody else's shop and talk a little shit, and then that person would be calling. I had a little bit of that down there. I've never really had it up here in Dallas, but I see it, and especially on Facebook. I see it all the time. And it drives me crazy because, honestly, there's enough business out there. And unfortunately, it's not just the bike business this way. It's all businesses. But, I mean, I'll give you an example that I don't think happens, and I could be wrong. Chuck and Pete at DA Performance. They're in Chicago. Curly's in Chicago. And D&D Cycles is there. Dave Duport. They built a lot of bikes out of them 3 shops.
Nice ones too.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's throwing dagger. Now, I'm sure they get pissed at each other once in a while, but they're all friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not happening around here.
And those are some of the 3 biggest guys in the bagger scene right now.
Yeah.
You know?
But I mean, and that's just it. None of them have the same style. Now, they use similar bags and this and that, but people come to them because they like what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's their customer no matter what.
Yeah, so like take that same thought process and you get the guy that's walking into your shop price shopping you. I don't want a price shopper. Not because I want to be the most expensive guy, but you're coming into our shop to get me to do work for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Because I want someone who saw my work on Instagram, who dug it, who's like, man, this guy like does things the way I see it in my head. I want this guy, just like a tattoo artist.
Right.
You know? And don't get me wrong, there's a bunch of tattoo artists, there's a bunch of shops out there that are just going to slap a set of LEDs on and put whatever you bring to the table. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's them. That's their shit. But me, I want to be sought out for my work. And I think that if you're building a bike, customizing, modifying it, however you want to term it, then that should be the way you're getting customers. You shouldn't want every customer. First off, we can't do everything. Like, right. You can't build every bike in town. No, so why be mad that there's another dude down the street building it? The problem is when you aren't thinking about the bigger picture, you might just be thinking about that one guy running back and forth, or that one bike night, or that one bike show where you're like trying to all eat out of the same pot. Well, with social media now, who gives a fuck about this pot right here on our street? The whole world's looking at our work. So technically we usually get work from all over the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, back to what we were saying is there's no reason as a motorcycle community of what we're doing, builders, painters, manufacturers, fabricators, we should all support what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because if we did, the business would probably be better. But people are so worried that what I'm doing over here is going to take away from what you're doing. So I was just stab you in the back. That's the plan. I'm going to stab him in the back before he gets a chance to stab me in the back. Yeah. Yeah.
And I had a thought, I lost it, but there's a lot of things, man. Like, and if the culture, if the subculture of baggers if the drama wasn't there, then people could focus more on the happiness of just being on a bike and having a good time, having beers. I'm not a fan of the standing in your seat while the music's playing. That's a little too ghetto for me. But, I get it. If that's what floats your boat and you want to buy a bike to stand in the seat and dance and, whatever, that's cool. Do your thing. But, it's all like all the people that create drama, it's always fun for them until the drama's on them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's easier if you just don't. I don't feed into those message boards on fucking Facebook, the Texas baggers and then the new Texas baggers and all these pages that like people are on, and then someone gets pissed off. It's like bike clubs. They're all in one club, and then as soon as something goes wrong, they all start a new club, a new group, and they're better than the old group, and then it's just drama everywhere. And it's like, fuck, man, I just want to ride bikes.
It's in everything. And I think I talk to a lot of guys in the hot rod world, and they say it's more of a friendly community. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to believe that, honestly, because in any business, I don't care if you're in when I was in the window business, that wasn't a friendly community. I always thought that was like the most brutal community ever. And then I came to the motorcycle world and I went, fuck, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I had it good over there. But I think it's in every business. Is everyone's out to stab each other. Unfortunately, they feel like it's the last piece of bread, and
mm-hmm.
This is our last dinner, and we got to get it all.
It really just depends on the way they structure their businesses, and I think that the way, like going back to what we've been kind of getting at, is that with this new world that we're working in, with this new like magazines aren't as important anymore. Discovery Channel TV shows aren't as important anymore.
Yeah.
So this is a new world of how do we get our name out there? How do we get big? Bike shows don't mean shit anymore. All that means shit is you post that bike and you have some good pictures of it on Instagram and your business is booming.
Well, that, and I think let's talk about that for a second. So, when I had the old company, I probably had the biggest semi in the industry, right? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't intentional. It just, I got a deal on a truck and trailer, and that was the rig, and it was stupid. I had to get at a rally 2 days before everyone else, and I was 2 days after everyone else left because I had to wait for everybody to leave. But I don't even think when we were doing it, I think that's when that was dying. Like, I parked that semi, $1 million worth of baggers sitting out front, and people walk up and go, "Can you ride that thing?" Well, yeah, of course you can ride it. I'd air it up and air it down and start it up, and they don't really ever see us riding because we're working all day, right? But we'd go out and ride at night. But those people that were coming around during the day, they never saw you ride them.
Yeah.
So they're coming to a candy store where you can't touch the candy, right? You don't get on that bike, right? I mean, it's a $150,000 bike or $80,000 bike. Don't touch it. You're lucky I'm going to let you look at it kind of attitude, right? And, hey, by the way, buy a hat. And they're going, I'm not going to buy a hat. You got $1 million. Look at this place. Give me a hat.
Yeah.
Sponsor me. They had that whole attitude. So for Epic now, the way I'm doing things is, number one, I want people to realize that I'm just a guy.
Yeah.
Just like everyone else. So when we go to rallies, I don't think rallies are dead. I think that rallies with big manufacturer, vendor, bike builders is a different, that everyone needs to take a different approach. I don't think people care about going and seeing the big semis anymore and that whole.
And for the amount of money it usually costs for some of you guys, I'm sure that certain areas will give you, like, especially in Sturgis, where maybe you want to divert some of the traffic to, like, the what was the Easy Rider Saloon that y'all set up a lot? Well, it makes more sense for them to put the big names in there and for free, in my opinion, to keep people there buying beer from those beer things, as opposed to, like, I was talking to what's his name from Sinister, Ali, about Daytona. He's like, yeah, it cost me $14,000 to set up here at J&P over in Daytona.
That's just to get a spot.
Yeah. $14,000. You got to sell how many wheels before you break even, and then you got your employees, you got your gas getting there. So let's just say you're $20,000 before you make a dime. Is that worth it to me?
No, well, it's not. Back in the day, it used to be, right?
Yeah. Because you didn't have the ease of access of internet.
Right. You couldn't see those wheels on Instagram. You had to go to Daytona to see the newest, greatest thing.
You're taking an extra $5,000 to buy some shit to have on your bike.
Yeah, you're going to buy it there, because if you don't buy it there, someone's going to beat you to it. You don't need to do that now. And that's why I think it's changed so much. And, like,
that's good perspective. I didn't even think about that shit.
Well, yeah, and I mean, what we're going to do is we're going to have a little thing at every motorcycle event or rally that we go to, which are select, but we're going to go out and ride. And we're going to go to all the events and go to all the bars, and it's not to go there and get drunk. It's to go there and meet people and let them see the bikes. And when somebody says, hey, can you ride that thing? You drinking? How fucked up are you? You know what I mean? Well, here's the key. Go ride it, man. And
or you just be like, hey, dude, we're about to leave here and go to Deadwood. You want to roll?
Yeah, whatever, right? Ride with us. You know what I mean? And get to know. So we get that personal experience again, and getting out and riding with them, and they get to know you, get to know our brand, and know that this is a real deal. This isn't just some gimmick that's sitting in a booth. And I think that's where things are going back to, right? I mean,
simplicity.
I'm going to say they were probably there a long, long time ago when custom bikes started to be a thing. People weren't setting up in semis right away. They were out riding and showing and riding with their buddies. And that's what we want to do again is get out and ride with our buddies and meet new people and let them experience what we're doing by doing it with us. That's how we're going to market.
I think that's a good way to do it, man. Like you got to keep your ear on the ground a little bit more, instead of like, sitting in the King Castle at the top and, everything it seems fake is what it seems like in some of those big semis, and that, I get it. Some people are there. Like I've always walked up to Dave Covington and talked to them, and they're always super cool, and they've kind of been in the circuit for a long time. But, I don't know, man. Like it seems like everything is going back to like a little bit more of a grassroots thing. Like even the rallies, like Daytona's been crap. I mean, that was a shitty show this year. Sturgis is obviously always great because of the riding and the history of it. But I think, man, like for us, like going to like Born Free and these smaller shows that are kind of smaller, more intimate, the experience is way better. Like for our camp out shit, like people, I was even telling this to another shop. I was like, I think what people are looking for now, more than bikes, is the experience on the bike.
Yeah.
They're looking to have a good time on bikes again.
Yeah.
And not it be a money pit, not it be this, and I think that's where it's at right now. It's not a bike. It's just, what are you doing on it?
Yeah, and I agree with you. And that's the tactic we're taking with our marketing is, and it's not because we want to be different. I just think that's where it's at. People want to experience what you're doing by doing it.
Yeah.
Whether they're riding one of our bikes or riding beside us, and they see how much fun we're having on our bike, and the sound of it, and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's what
Yeah, I remember
people are into.
last year at Sturgis, I was on my FXR, and my friend, he had bought a brand new 17. This is, it was 17, 2017. So he had brought a brand new 17, 30'd it, put fucking like $8,000, $8,000 in those M8s, and they're fucking like 140 something horsepower. So he had all this stuff done at fucking stupid fast, But we went on a ride from fucking Sturgis to Deadwood, just those nice high speed sweepers. He couldn't even fucking keep up. And I'm not that great of a rider as far as like corners, but the bike's handled, like the FXR handles like a goddamn dream. And his bagger did too, but with the big wheel and all this shit, like he couldn't enjoy the motor he put in there because there's not enough straight roads, you know? It was just like, when he got back to the hotel, he's like looking at my bike, he's like, man, that thing looked fun to ride. I was like, you had fun when we got to the light, because everybody at the light was like, hey man, that's fucking sweet, let me take a picture. But when we were riding the bikes, I had all the fun, So it's a weird catch-22, man.
Well, and I think that's what it's getting back to is people, and that's what I like about Epic bikes is not only are they rideable, they look cool.
Mm-hmm.
When you pull up, it's so different, and it's a big bike, and that was one of the things. Like, I love cafe style bikes.
Yeah.
I don't look good on a cafe bike. Like, you wouldn't catch me on one. I look silly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not a huge guy, but
yeah,
I'm 6'2", and there's guys much bigger than me that don't belong on those bikes, and they're cool, and there's a whole community of the cafe style bikes. And when I looked at all that, and I looked at trackers and all that, I mean, even Sportsters, like, I'm not going on a Sportster.
Yeah.
That's where these fall into places. It's a big bike, but it has that sex appeal, and you don't look silly if you're a big guy. And if you're a smaller guy, I mean, it doesn't even matter. Like, you can be any height. Mm-hmm. And actually, the way these bikes are set up is, if you are height, you got a little issue there. We've set them up to where they have a lower stance than any factory bike.
Yeah.
If you
want to go the Pro Street look.
Yeah, if you want to go that way. So, from women riders, like this bike here, we put the auto clutch in to make it really easy for beginner riders and women riders, and I don't know. There's just a lot of options, and again, from 2009 to 2013, there's 1 million of these used on the road. Mm-hmm. I mean, just
there is, and you can usually buy most of them for under $10,000 or at $10,000.
Yeah, I mean,
so
most of them now are
And I feel like come 2009, like all the issues with the twin cams were pretty much worked out. Earlier twin cams, they had a lot of cam plate issues or tension issues.
These things are rock solid.
Yeah.
I mean, there's I read an article about it the other day. Harley has kind of put themselves in a corner because their bikes are reliable now. Mm-hmm. Right? They built a bike that's not breaking down.
Yeah.
They're living a long time. So the return customer isn't coming back in 2 years going, I'm tired of this oil leaking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't care about getting a new bike. They can keep the old bike. And that's where I think we have a huge opportunity is all the old bikes. And we get calls every day from guys going, hey, do you have those side covers for an 08 down? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I have it worked out.
Yeah.
We just haven't made it yet. Matter of fact, our tail section, everything, actually for those bikes is much easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's a one-piece tail on those bikes.
Yeah, but we don't even have to cut the frame.
You can just have a bolt-on section.
Yeah. We've got it all laid out and designed. It's just...
I think those bikes, I was just talking to my buddy today about like, because a lot of my friends or some of the friends I know are wanting to do like stunts on these fucking baggers and shit now. I'm like, well, get an older one because they're lighter. they're lighter baggers. I mean, narrow rear wheels.
Yeah.
The frames are smaller. I mean, they're just much smaller bikes. So, I mean, they're lighter, so they can do more, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the weight is probably not drastic as it may seem, but yeah, definitely. But, you know, and there's a lot of those, man. There's a lot of those out there. Yeah, the bigger tire in the back, like the 180, you can put a 150, 160 on those bikes, you know, run a chain on them and stuff, and you know, but I don't know, man. There's a lot of options for this style bike, and I definitely think this is the movement where it's going is more rideable.
So what do you think about, like, you know, like the new bikes that Harley's been announcing and stuff, like the ones they haven't released yet, and like what's your take on all the new direction for Harley itself?
You mean like the electric stuff?
Not necessarily just the electric stuff, but just like their whole basic redesign of the company that's coming in 2020 and on, with the Pan American bike, the fucking, you know, the street fighter style, and
I mean, I like it because that's the direction Epic is living right now.
Yeah.
So it plays really well for me. So I'm a huge promoter of it. Plus, I like the bikes. I mean, I think even the Pan America bike, even though it's got some ugly features, I think it's pretty cool. Matter of fact, I'd like to have an adventure bike.
Yeah, that we pretty much, me and everybody on this podcast does too.
Yeah. I just don't, and I don't really know anywhere around here I'd go ride it, but you know, I'd have to travel to go ride it. I don't have time for that, but I'll have one someday. But I mean, so I think that's pretty cool. The thing that I think Harley's really screwing up on is the price point.
100%.
And it's good for me.
Yeah, it's good for the aftermarket that obviously Harley's trying to kill.
But I think they're making a huge mistake. I mean, matter of fact, I read the other day, like, Harleys are their used bike sales are outselling their new sales, and it's killing themselves. And one is the bikes are good used. Yeah, you know, it's not like people are buying junk bikes. There's nothing wrong with those used bikes. They may not be an M8, which the M8's badass. Yeah, but you know, there's badass twin cams out there too. So, you know, I hate to see Harley at such a high price point. I mean, look at that new Indian that just came out, $13,000.
Yeah, for technology that is not even available from Harley. Not even available. That fucking suspension, those brakes. Fucking Harley's got goddamn got inverted front ends with these same old Brembo calipers that were designed back in 2009. You know what I mean? Like for $22,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, man. That's but that's part of the nostalgia of owning a Harley, and it always has been, right? You're buying a Harley because you want a Harley. If you want to customize it.
But this is my take. All right, the nostalgia of the look. I talked with another guy from Purpose Built, and he said it best. It was the reason we like Harleys is because they're under-designed, so pretty much under-designed. So it's left up to interpretation for the owner. We want chrome, we want black, we want a stretch tank, a stock tank. You know, everything is kind of like modifiable to make it yours. If I was Harley, instead of like worrying about making bikes that are, you know, instead of trying to be like Apple where you make a computer that you can't add more memory or change or anything, like it's like what they're trying to do with their bikes. They want to make it to where you buy it and you don't fucking touch it. That's stupid, you know, that in my opinion. But the other thing is, why not just continue to make better technological advances? You know, whether you're upgrading to more higher or better brakes, maybe making real better suspension. You know, I'm good with the tank and the bags and the fairing. I don't really need that redesigned every couple of years. But if you can add more technology to the aesthetics or the drivetrain and the workings of the bike, it's worth more money to me. You know?
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, I was a guy the other day was showing me. He's got one of those BMW adventure bikes.
Yeah,
dude, that thing, like, if it's raining, the suspension changes. I mean, there's all this crazy shit. It's mind-blowing that can be done. And that bike sells for $20,000. Okay, this perfect case in point. You buy a whole bike for $20,000, but we want to put an inverted front end on one of these baggers, and it's $7,000.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make any sense, dude.
Doesn't.
Why is that front end on that bike costing so much money? And it's not the damn triple trees that these guys are making.
It's just the price point. It's just like right now, there's the option of doing like a Gixxer fork thing. Those forks aren't as long as they need to be for Harleys. So they make these trees that drop down. So they're regular tree size and drop down to fit it or whatever. But then you have the companies that are usually just trying to sell Öhlins, which Öhlins has a price point of usually $2,500 to $3,500.
But they're putting them on OEM bikes that sell for $12. I mean, that Indian's got Öhlins on it. I'm assuming.
If it ain't Öhlins,
know.
it's right. It's all it is the logo ripped off for sure.
Well, if it's not Öhlins, I mean, there's a couple other guys out there, but no matter what, it's still price point wise. If it was on a retail market, it'd be crazy. But that's the thing, man. Is that new Indian is badass, but that is the downside to that bike.
Mm-hmm.
Other than deleting a couple things, it's kind of like a sport bike, right?
Yeah.
You buy a brand new Hayabusa, forget about fat tire and a long swing arm.
Yeah.
Someone's going to go ride it. Maybe they'll do a paint job. They're going to put some grips on it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe change
probably exhaust.
Yeah, exhaust, clip-ons,
mm-hmm.
air cleaner. I doubt they're even going to mess with the rear sets.
Probably stay the same, yeah, especially on Boosas.
Yeah, change the license plate. They want to hide that thing.
Yeah.
Clean it up a little bit. But other than that, maybe a smoke windshield and some smoke blinkers.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where Indian's at with their bikes, though.
So I get it. So basically, because they build such a nice bike out the gate, they, at least now, it's not as over designed as the other Indians with the long ass fenders and shit. So they're kind of like making it to where they're going to sell you a great bike, but there's really no room for your own interpretation of that bike.
I don't think easily. I mean,
aftermarket is already competing with the high end bike. It ain't like, I guess on Harley, it's like you can put an inverted front end and now you got better suspension. Well, if it already came with it, I mean, for some people that'd be perfect, but like a consumer, but for the aftermarket industry, that's where they would really fuck us if they made the shit perfect out the gate.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that can be changed on that bike to make it a little bit better, but I mean, there's not a lot to change on that bike.
Mm-hmm.
Now, downside to that bike, you'll never have me on one. I'm too big.
Mm-hmm. Well, you'd only, and I guess the price point makes better sense because you're buying a bike to do a specific thing when it comes to that. That was it FTR, I think is it?
Yeah, the FTR 1200.
So you're buying that bike to, rip around town. You're not going to throw a sissy bar on that thing and ride it across country. You're not going to do a lot of that stuff. And I think that's what Harley had before. They still kind of have it in some of their models, but that new fucking fat tire V-Rod they just came out with, that's catering to a market. That's what they're trying to do is they tried to reinvent the V-Rod and sell it to the FXR community. You know what I mean? And that shit ain't happening. Everybody hates that bike. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody fucking hates that bike.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess that's what I'm trying to say is like, if you really want to customize a bike, Harley's the place to go.
It still is the place to go, yeah.
It's cost you a lot more money, but
I mean, it is, man. It costs you more money. It's definitely it's just more modifiable, man. There's more shit. There's been an aftermarket. There's been too much money in the world of redesigning and customizing Harleys, so that anything Harley makes, those companies that have been living off of redesigning them are going to jump on board and try to make these things nicer.
Yeah.
You remember when Indian first came out? They were reaching out to everybody that made parts to say, "Hey, dude, we want an aftermarket parts line for our bikes," because they knew that would help generate sales. They had fucking Shope and what was it, Lynn, Ass Kicker, whatever, all these different people trying to make products that I never really saw them come out with anything other than Shope. But
to be honest with you, man, I mean, I love the new Indian and the Indian Scout.
Scout was dope, yeah.
I mean, I'll never ride one. I'm way too big. Mm-hmm. But those bikes are badass. They're touring bikes.
Yeah, they're hard to look at, man.
I mean, even the customized ones, I think they're even grosser.
Yeah.
And
well, it's got to be hard for them too. I mean, to with the Harley bagger market being so dominant and having such a good look, it's really hard for anybody to make a fairing. You know, Harley kind of nailed it out the gate with the bat wing and the shark nose. Yeah. It's kind of like there's really no other option, you know.
Well, in the way the handlebars come out, and I mean that whole thing's goofy. I mean, we were getting ready to do a couple before Epic, and I had some ideas, but they were, you know, the change was so drastic over what it was from the factory that, you know, it wasn't a sellable part. You know,
yeah, it'd take a lot of shit to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, they're good riding bikes. They got great motors in them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but there's Hondas out there that are,
yeah,
you know, faster and greater than Harleys, right? They look like shit, and they're not that customizable. Again,
yeah,
you're going to spend a lot of money customizing a $10,000 bike to make it look cool, when you could just have a Harley. And you know, and I don't know, dude. I mean, you know, this is another thing that I tell people all the time about Epic bikes, right? You know, I remember this from my sport bike days.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be out riding, and we'd all end up at a bar at the end of the day, or for lunch or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you're in there, and there's all these badass Harleys out front, which I couldn't afford a Harley as a kid.
Yeah.
And the Harley guys are like, yeah, I got a fucking Harley, man, you know.
When you little sport bike kids are gonna get on Harleys and stuff, fuck yeah.
You know, the bartender's going down the bar and he's like, oh, what are you riding, man? What are you riding? The Harley guy's like, I got fucking this, you know, Harley, man.
Yeah.
And then they get to the guy on a GSXR, which is a way better bike than any of those bikes.
Yeah.
And he goes, I got GSXR, like real quiet, right?
Yeah.
Or, I got.
He's not as proud of it.
Yeah, hell no. But he is, but he's scared to say something, right?
Yeah.
But he's got a bike that will get over the mountain in 10 minutes. Well, they come over 45 minutes later. It's just different riding styles, obviously. But with Epic, now that guy that, you know, wants the best of both worlds, he can have it.
Yeah.
And he can have, there's nothing like the sound of a Harley. I mean,
There isn't, yeah.
You know, and that's exciting in itself, right?
When I was riding up here, from downtown up here, a sport bike was riding next to me and he had a can on it. You know, it was like, I don't know what exhaust it was, but I know that riding those things, it sounds good when you're riding it. But to me, when I was riding next to him and how loud it was, I was like, dude, I'd pull you over right now. You know, because it's just like such a loud, like almost like a two-stroke loud. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, that's just over the top. But a deep, deep Harley sound, you know, like, man, that shit fucking, it feels good, man.
Yeah,
I always associate it to an old hot rod when you got like an old 69 Camaro with some new technology in it to make it run better. But then it feels meaty and throaty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, that's like when I first rode the Milwaukee 8. That motor is so quiet without anything done to it, right?
Yeah.
I felt like I was riding
like a
Honda,
yeah.
and I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we put a cam in mine. That thing's nasty. And I mean, we just put a bolt-in cam from Zippers, and the thing came alive, dude. I mean, I love that bike. I love that motor. It makes so much power. So fun.
That's what's kind of like, I was telling everybody, you know, like, fuck, I'm doing another FXR. I'm not, you know, I was trying to go to the bagger route again, and I had the one, you know, that we had a few parts of yours on there. And I dug the bike, man, but I was just kind of like, fuck, man, it'd be cool not to have a payment again. So, you know, I wasn't really trying to sell it, but some people saw that I had posted, and it sold really quick. And so I was like, fuck, man. I was like, I don't think I'm going to get another bagger. I think I'm just going to stick with the FXR and Dyna stuff. And then when the new ones came out, and I saw those side fairings on the CVOs, I was like, fuck, that looks good.
Yeah,
like, it really looks sporty as hell. And then I saw they had the new radio, and then all the specials come with a 114. So I was thinking in my head, like, you know, this FXR deal that I was going to get fell through. And I was like, yeah, I think I want a new bagger now. Those things look cool.
Did you buy a special?
Yeah, it's special. I got a special, and I got the fairings on order.
Really?
Yeah, because they're not in stock anywhere right now. They're only on the CVOs, and they're waiting to like release them for outside purchases. And I'm on the list now.
Those things look good.
It does. So I got the special, and when I was buying it, I was like, you know, this one I'm gonna keep. This is gonna be my bike for riding trips next year, and that way my wife can also go if we do some certain trips. And but I was like, man, it'd be cool to have a 114. You know, just a big motor already out the gate, not like a 107. And I feel like I got to buy some kind of hop up kit. Like I want something that's pretty stout. But I was looking at the numbers that those things put out for horsepower, where I was like, dude, that's like 103 numbers. You know, 88 or 90 horsepower from a 114. I was like,
Yeah, you'd be blown away, man, dropping a cam in it.
yeah. So it's you know, and I was talking with a lot of people, and they're like, man, once you put an air cleaner exhaust, it's up there real quick. And then you put a cam, next thing you know, you're running at 110 horsepower. You know, super simple and easy. So I'm excited about doing that shit, man. I just, you know, I'm not rushing myself to build this bike. I got a black one, so I'm not worried about painting it right now or anything crazy.
By the way, we are making, of course, a lot of the Epic products, you don't have to do the whole naked bike, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
our dashes, we got dashes for street glides, we got dashes for road glides, dashes for road kings, of course our mid controls, axle locks, you know, chin spoilers, all that stuff, fenders. But we've got side covers for bikes with bags. So our style, FXR style side covers,
Yeah.
we've got them for the bikes with bags.
Nice.
So, of course, it's on 09 up, but
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. Like I said, I think I said to you last year when we talked, is like you have a parts line that could be like we said, or like you said earlier about how, you know, oh man, I got this chin spoiler with this side with this set of bags, and it all kind of flows and works well, you know. And I think that's cool, man. That's you have a complete product line, but it can also be dismantled into different aspects to make it kind of
you don't
work
have to
with
do
other styles.
You don't have to do the whole thing. If you want to just use part of our front, that's one of the things too. Like I looked at when you're doing a big wheel, you either had to do it or not do it, right? I mean, you put those long bags on there with a stock wheel, it looks silly. You put a big wheel on there with stock bags, it looks silly.
Yeah.
Our deal, you could just do the front end and leave bags and stuff on. It's a cool bike.
Yeah.
And you could do just the back end and leave the front end, and it's a cool bike. Like, it's definitely set up to where it's affordable on all levels. You can do something, and you can grow into it. You don't have to do it all at once. And you can take it to the dealership. The dealership's still going to work on it. You're not molesting the wiring system. And there, again, what I was saying earlier is, for shops, if a shop is building this for somebody, it's quick turn money.
Yeah.
The shop's making money. It's not living in the shop on a lift. I mean, dude, I remember when we had our shop in Houston, we had 9 lifts. And we serviced bikes. We pumped out 40 bikes a day in our service department.
Damn.
Yeah, we were just pumping bikes. But we were building a lot of bikes. People bring them in for, one of the things there is we had a bar inside. So a guy would come in for an oil change, have 3 beers. Next thing you know, he was doing a complete custom build. You know what I mean? So it worked out pretty good. But the bikes live on the lifts.
Yeah.
And then we had lifts on the floor and bikes on carts. And I mean, like, at the end of the day, by the time the bike's done, if you count up the hours that lived in your shop,
Yeah.
it's brutal. You know what I mean? Like, wow, we didn't make any money here. A bike like we're doing for Epic, it's hard to get 40 hours in the bike.
Yeah.
You know, full turnkey for a customer. If you told the customer, hey, I'll build you a bike for $4,000 plus parts,
Yeah.
they're happy to pay that compared to the world we've lived in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, let's just say your shop rate's $100 an hour, right? $4,000 to build you a bike is plus parts. You're gonna make money as a shop. You're gonna be happy because you're turning a bike in a week or two. You know, if you take 2 weeks, you know,
Waiting
you
on
got other
paint or
things
something.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it literally, if you had your paint set ready, which, by the way, we're changing the way we do our process to hopefully soon. Well, we will. The sooner the better, but to where when you buy our body parts, you don't even have to mock them up. Like, literally, you'll be able to send them to paint. So if you can have everything sent to paint, when you drop your bike off, I'll see you Friday.
Yeah, and like looking at this when you got on the lift, you know, you just, you know, you have your front fender, your nacelle, your tank, which is basically the stock Harley tank, your dash, side covers, and tail cover section. I mean, shit, dude, that's an FXR. That's a Dyna, you know.
Yeah,
6,
well,
7
plus
pieces.
they're not spending a lot of money on a paint job if they don't
Yeah.
want to. You know, I mean, this bike's all black. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of money. I mean, you know, if the tank was already black from the factory,
Yeah, exactly. They're
you
good.
didn't have to paint it. You know, it's just a dash and the cell and the front fender. So, I mean, you know, it's simple. But I don't know, dude. We're working on a deal right now for an OEM seat.
Mm-hmm.
We're not hand making the seats each time, or you know, you don't have to go out and have a seat made. So we'll have a
Like a seat to sell with the kit.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
yeah. So I think LaPera is making that seat for us.
That's gonna be cool.
That'll be pretty cool. So it'll be affordable seat. So I mean, we'll have a full solution, you know. And I think for shops, that's where it's at. Is shops want to make money,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't care if you get a $70,000 build on a bagger.
Mm-hmm.
You're not making $70,000 by the time you leave your shop.
No, that you're gonna be married to that bike for you know
The rest
a
of
good
its
part of
life.
the year. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, these things, you don't have any of your techs in the wiring system screwing anything up. You know what I mean? You're not hacking anything apart.
It's plug and play.
Plug and play. I mean, you know, of course you can take it to the extreme, which is cool, and I want people to do that. I think you saw that a little bit with the bike that Chuck and Pete did at DA. You know, they did that fat tire, Olin's front end. Have you seen that bike?
I saw some of the pictures of it in the on the lift. Haven't seen it as a finished product yet. So.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I mean, it's got the SNS 143 in it.
Shit.
It's nasty. So, they're having a new pipe made, but I think they dynoed it. And that motor came out of another bike they built. They didn't have any miles on it, but it dynoed like 173 horsepower.
Damn.
In a bike like this.
Yeah, that's gonna be insane. It's a
So-
wheelie bike for sure.
Yes, Pete called me the other day and he's like, dude, he said, I've never ever, you know, Pete drag races,
Yeah.
right? Nasty fucking car. And he's like, dude, I've never ever been on a bike that's so gnarly. I said, what do you mean? Like, I knew it'd be gnarly because
Yeah.
my M8's gnarly. He said, I can only describe it as a streetable drag car. Like, it's just nasty. And he's like so excited when they get the new pipe for it. They're going to take it and actually go drag it. So that'd be pretty cool. But I mean, you know, they built a custom tank for it, a custom dash. They used our nacelle, and they didn't run our front fender, just the back end and, you know, our axle locks and stuff. But they built a custom exhaust. But it's cool to see somebody take it just another level up.
Yeah, and put their twist on it. Yeah.
Put their twist on it, and I like that with builders. So, and I like seeing just the standard kits out there. I mean, you know, that's pretty cool. You know, they're cool bikes. People get excited about these, man. Everywhere we go with them, it's not something that Harley offers.
Yeah.
So when you go somewhere, it's just like having a big wheel bike. Like, people never seen it before. They don't know what to say. A lot of people are looking at them going,
Wasn't there a dude last year on the hot bike tour that tried to do something like this on his own? It was like he built like it was a new one or something like that, and he rode it out there and shit. Called it like the new FXR or something. It was a touring bike, but I know he was one of Jeff Holt's close friends. Yeah. So yeah, I remember him coming out. But last year at Hot Bike Tours, when you had kind of unveiled a lot of these.
yeah. Well, that's where we did unveil them at, was there. That was the first time they'd been seen.
How do they ride with those knobby tires on them?
Dude, interestingly enough, like, they're slick. I mean, those are obviously enduro tires, but they're slick for about the first 500 miles. When I say slick, like, they're back slick.
Yeah.
And if you're getting into it, you know, they'll slide. But in the corners and stuff, it's all a mindset. You know, I met a guy, matter of fact, on the hot bike tour, and I wasn't familiar with the tires. I just wanted to look.
Yeah.
And he was looking at the bike. He started telling me, he said, listen, I ride an adventure bike. He said, and I ride those tires, and I've you know, thousands and thousands of miles. He said, I've been to school to learn how to ride the bikes. He's like, it's all in your head, man. He goes, lay that thing into the fucking corner like you do anything else. So ever since he told me that, I don't treat it any different. Like,
Yeah, a friend of mine just did a trip. We did a podcast with him. He did a trip up to Alaska, and he was telling me about how those knobby tires, those kind of on-off road kind of tires, have like a percentage or some shit rating to some of them for like road versus,
Yeah,
So if you plan to ride more off-road, there's a tire that's less percentage of, concrete versus dirt and vice versa.
Well, the Continentals that we're running, they're pretty aggressive. I mean, they look just like a dirt bike tire.
Yeah.
They don't. The rear doesn't last long. The fronts look brand new still. You know what I mean? But honestly, at about 80, 90 miles an hour when they were new, you got a little bit of a hum.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like riding in a fucking jacked up truck with some mud tires on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
But I mean, but you didn't know it. You don't feel it.
Yeah.
Like you don't feel it riding the bike. It don't feel any different. Of course, I abused my rear tire on my bike quite a bit in letting Cole Freeman ride the bike. Of course,
do some wheelies.
Didn't do it any justice as far as the tire goes. When you push it, it's got that. You know what I mean? You can feel it, but riding the bike, you don't notice it, man. I really get a kick out of riding it, and of course, it's an attention getter. When people are like, "Man, what is this? Some sort of race bike? What is this bike?" And they look at it, and they're like, "Is this an FX?" Bike guys.
Yeah.
Guys that I think should know way more about bikes than I do. Look at the bike and look at the bike and look at the bike. They're like, "Is this an FXR? But you got a Milwaukee 8 in it." And then I'm like, "No, it was a Road King." And they're like, "Holy shit, man. You did that to a Road King?" And then, but what we did is really simple, But we've kind of screwed it up for everybody else. We got a patent on our rear frame section. So even Harley, if they try to come out with a touring frame with our style rear end, they're not going to do it. We got a utility patent on that. So, but for all the builders out there, we want to sell frames. You don't have to run our body parts. Make your own stuff. Do your own deal, man. We want to support all that. I mean, I'm happy that it would be cool if another builder or manufacturer said, "Hey, I want to make my own body kit for your stuff," and
that would be cool too. And like I said, it leaves with the price point being at a good range, you can do modifications to the tank, like do knee cutouts or even like a point. I think a pointed tank would be dope on here, like the way we used to run on the baggers.
Yeah,
and kind of come into the seat a little bit more. There's still a lot of room for interpretation on how to make it your own.
Well, even the rear frame section, right? Like, right here we got our bracing and stuff. If you cut that off and cut that back hoop and just left our inner fender well,
yeah, I see what you're talking about.
And finish that off and put a seat, like it'd be super dope.
Yeah,
you don't even have to put a body on it. Put a set of side covers on it and run it. Like there's a lot of options, man, and I'm excited to see that when builders start getting their hands on them and doing their own thing, because that's what we do. Even if we buy something from somebody else's, we change it up. Yeah. A rear body, our rear cowling we got that big brace right there, and you put a hole all the way through the body, or some mesh in there, and
that'd be cool. Make it a whole meshed out tail section or something.
Yeah, I mean, do some. There's
somebody that can weld could do some lot of cool shit with that.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. That's what I'm excited about, man. Honestly, is to see all the different bikes on the road. Kind of like with my net kits. Look how many bikes, dude, were built with that net kit.
Yeah, for sure. They were a staple in the industry.
Yeah. So, same thing here, but you don't have to worry about them having any issues. So
you were talking earlier about like these things should start becoming available next year in Tucker, right?
Yeah, so we just did a deal with Tucker. Our entire product line was picked up by Tucker, and you'll see all of our parts in the 2019 Tucker catalog. So, it's nice because Tucker's right here in Fort Worth, right?
Yeah.
And their big shows right here in Fort Worth.
It's usually in February?
Yeah, no, it's January, I think 23rd, 24th, something like that.
Yeah.
It's 4 days. But we're building a pretty big display for that, and we'll have on-site training for the dealers.
That's cool.
So we're setting up a whole I'm setting up a frame basically without wheels on it, with everything on it, and basically I'm gonna have tools and walk you through the process of actually installing our stuff. And I think that interaction is that engagement. There's a lot of these salesmen walk into a shop and start talking. They're just selling
Salesman,
stuff out of a catalog. You know what I mean? But if they can walk in and have experienced how easy it is to do this, I think it'll go a long ways. And if they can do it,
Yeah.
you know,
It'll help them like promote the idea to the shop in the middle of nowhere that's not connected to the internet, in the ways that some of us are, you know what I mean?
Well, dude, I mean, it's amazing to me how many people don't get on Instagram in our world too.
Yeah.
And Facebook.
For sure,
They don't know
yeah.
what's going on. So, it's all those shops.
Yeah, there's enough people on Instagram for guys like me, and I'm sure you and a lot of people to make just the exact living that we need. But there's still a lot of people that aren't, that all our marketing and all the shit that we do for our companies on that level work, but don't work for these people. You know what I mean?
Well, where else I see it doesn't really work that well is all the Harley dealerships.
Yeah, none of those.
They're too big.
Well, I think a big reason, I think if you walk into any Harley dealership service center, everybody knows what's going on in the industry. But you walk into a sales floor and nobody knows what's going on because those guys are just selling bikes. There are guys in that thing that are very, very intertwined with motorcycle culture, riding, all that shit. But I would say it's for every 5 of those guys, maybe 5 people in a dealership on a sales floor, maybe one of them is actually connected to motorcycles in the way that you would expect.
Yeah, it's surprising. So, that's the thing, man, is getting these sales reps out there talking to these guys, and if they can say that they experienced it, and you can't do that with many product lines.
Yeah.
So we're setting up our whole booth, and our booth will be that way from now on. Like if we ever are at a rally set up, we'll have that assembly set up there, so when a guy comes up and says, how easy is this, we can just walk him through the process and matter of fact, let him do it.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, when could you do that with anything else?
That's a good display idea too.
So, I mean, that's what we're going to, it doesn't take a lot of time to do this. I mean, I bought a brand new 2018 Road King, and I brought it in here and time-lapsed it. Tore the whole bike down to where I needed it to start converting it back to an Epic bike. And I bagged and tagged all the nuts and bolts, put all the parts in boxes. I mean, it was a brand new bike, 0 miles, so I wanted everything to stay pristine so my parts guy could come get it.
Yeah.
And it took me 45 minutes, might have been 46 minutes, to do everything start to finish. I wasn't rushing, by myself, to completely tear down the bike to where I needed it to be to start putting all the Epic stuff back on. So, I mean, that's the whole thing, man, is there's not a lot of time in these. And it's not complicated. I mean, I tell guys all the time, if you have a bottle jack, a floor jack, a couple 2x4s, and a crescent wrench, you can do our stuff.
That's cool.
I mean, if you're that guy with only that amount of tools.
Yeah, because realistically, you can leave it on the kickstand. Just when you pull the shocks off, have something under it so it doesn't sink. Yeah.
And I mean, taking the rear section off, when you get to that point, the factory one, and putting this one on, we timed that. That alone is like 2 minutes.
Well, the good thing about it is if you're pulling the whole subframe off, you can just unbolt most of that shit and leave most of the rear fender together, unplug it, all the lights, everything's still
You could, yeah.
Yeah.
You could do it that way. For sure. But I don't know, man. I mean, this stuff's simple, and we're excited about it, and we're looking forward to 2019. It's been a.
What do y'all plan on any events y'all plan to be at for sure in 19 or?
We don't know yet. We're going to do the Tucker thing. The rallies I'm so up in the air on it.
Dude, I think, my approach to big rallies is just go and be there and be seen.
Well, that's what we're gonna do.
You know,
So,
but maybe the smaller ones like your Rock Rally or your Lone Star Rally. Maybe some of those I would probably do something that's more affordable. You don't want to I think it's stupid when you go and you're dropping $10,000 on a booth space. You know what I mean? If you could have, if you could just be out there on the bikes, like you were saying earlier, go to the bars, ride around, let them be seen, talk to people, be personable like that. I think that's a much better approach. Because think about it. If you're sitting at a fucking spot all day long, let's say you back in the big 18-wheeler days, you get bored. Well,
it is boring. It's a long day, and by the time you're done, you've put in 15 hours. You
answer the same question 1,000 times.
Yeah, you want to go out and have a couple drinks, which lead to more drinks, right?
Yeah.
And then you don't want to get up in the morning and do it again. But in this case, also, we can go to those big rallies, and we don't need to be there for the days where it's dead before and after.
Yeah.
We can go for the prime time and enjoy it that way and get out there. And we have some plans. We have a lot to do between now and the Tucker launch.
Yeah. You should probably go to if you I had a fucking blast last year, not at Daytona. I hated that, but the performance Harley show that was at Ace Cafe there in Orlando.
Yeah.
Dude, it was just fucking awesome. There was performance, just all based on Dyna's FXRs, baggers, a lot of cool shit and a lot of vendors based on that. But it felt like that crowd was just more like what we were talking about earlier about how different shops, everybody was just stoked to see each other. As opposed to if you're on Lazelle or fucking whatever, Ocean, whatever in Daytona, Main Street, where everybody's more cutthroaty and cunty and shit like that. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, so we're going to take a different approach. The hard thing now is me being everywhere and being all these places. So it gets difficult because my time is pretty limited doing it, starting over and, being a small business again and not having anybody to rely on and all that. So it makes it difficult. The hot bike tour, I was an invited builder. And as you know, I didn't make it.
Yeah.
I had every intention to be there. And I'm glad that, Matt from Full Moon had just
finished that one.
He
called me while he was driving home from that, and he was just on cloud nine because he was so stoked. He was riding with John and Trask and all these dudes out there, and I think John rode the bagger, his bagger a lot. Yeah, he was. It was cool. Like I said, it was cool that he, as a customer of mine, was stoked to just be out there and do all this shit and whatnot. So Matt's a good dude though. So
yeah, that was cool, and that's what I was saying earlier. That's how I am, dude. Is I'll help anybody. Yeah. And Matt had called me when he found out I was going on the power tour, and I told him initially. I said, well, listen, the military bike's going to be out there, but I'm not. It's not to ride.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, look, I plan on flying in, renting a street glide, and go and enjoy riding.
Yeah.
And of course, I didn't know that they were moving city to city again, at the time. But it didn't work out for me. Matt went out. Jordan called me and said, are you coming? I said, I'm going to try and be there Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And then I found out my kids had winter break or whatever, fall break.
Yeah.
So they were out of school Friday and Monday. It's there's no way I can go. Right? So Jordan called and he said, look, can Matt just be the invited builder? I said, hell yeah.
Yeah, he got lucky.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be an invited builder.
Yeah, so it's...
I'm still salty about that. So.
Well, the power tour ain't what it was when we first started. For sure, it was a lot of fun when it in the beginning. I don't know. I'm sure it's still fun, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I don't even know why I'm salty about it. It's just I just am. I didn't really plan to gain anything from it. I guess it's one of those deals you just want to be kind of recognized and respected amongst your peers. And I feel like the Power Tour kind of had that vibe where you were forced to hang out with these shops on these roads and do this shit, and it felt cool. I remember last year riding on the thing from Maryville to Johnson City, and up there in the front with some of the guys. It's fuck. I'm sitting here pegged out at 110 on my FXR. Carrie Hart's next to me. In front of me is Morgan. I guess he was working Street Chopper at the time. And there was a 124 bagger from, I want to say, RPM Moto out of Cali, which badass bikes out there. And I'm like surrounded by badass bike people in the industry, and I was like, this feels kind of surreal. Yeah. And then we go to we went and sat down at a goddamn Outback, and I'm like sitting next to people that I'm still kind of like nerding out and fucking starstruck.
Look up to these people.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of talent in this industry and a lot of badasses, and that's what is cool about the Power Tours. It gets those guys together, and I mean, one for the Power Tour, there's guys in Cali and Phoenix that are in the scene but not in the drama, I guess.
Yeah.
That I would have never met. Like the first year we did the Power Tour, I went and rode with all the old school chopper guys. You know why? Because they weren't so much drama as all the bagger guys. And I had more fun riding with Roland Sands and, all those guys than anything.
Yeah.
But they were riding hard and fast, and I was riding hard and fast. Shope's out there doing his duck wobble on his clear wheel bagger, can only go about 50 miles an hour, and you got ballistic on their hubless or clear whatever they had that they were trailering from. Like it's stupid.
Yeah, it got crazy, and then you had would you have Joey Hensley making a big scene on his bike breaking down everywhere?
Yeah,
that was that year?
That was the second.
That was
year.
The second year.
Yeah, the first year was so much fun, man. That was actually the second year. That was my first year. The third year was when Hensley was there, and I don't know about that whole thing, him breaking down. I didn't pay no attention to that, but just that year I rode with all the chopper guys. We had such a blast, man.
Dude, that's what happened to me, man. That's what it was for me. It's like I was so used to all the negativity, and don't get me wrong, I have my fair share of like getting in my negative Nancy state, I guess you want to call it, but once I started hanging around the chopper dudes, and these dudes were all like fucking hippies and just let's fucking have a good time and do this. I don't give a fuck how much you spend on your bike. I don't give a fuck about this. I don't give a fuck about that. Let's go ride. Let's go have fun. Let's go drink. And that culture was exactly what I needed at that point in my life.
Yeah, and that's what I enjoyed about riding with those guys too, man. I mean, we had the cops chasing us. We had the cops surround us at a gas station. Of course, back then my bikes they were never titled. They never had license plates. But, I always ran a dealer plate that was 10 years out of whack. You know what I mean? And we talked our way out of it. But I mean, that was the fun part, and all the other guys, the bagger builders were jamming down the freeway 60, 70 mile an hour with their wobbling ass bags because they got too much stereo shit in them or whatever. And they'd be the first ones to the show and wiping down their bikes, and I'd show up bugs all over my shit and I wouldn't wipe it down. But, I was having fun.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about to me now.
It is.
Like, I'm over the days of the bike that you take out and you don't want to get it hurt. You know what I mean? Now I'm gonna have that bike. I'm gonna build something drastic, but it's gonna be rideable. I'm gonna ride it, and it's gonna get beat up. And
that was the hard part about me when I did all my riding on my bagger, is because in my alternate universe that I live in my head, I wanted to go to the show and be respected like all the other people in the show that pulled their shit off trailers, but my shit had rock chips and bugs on it.
Yeah.
And it just didn't, I get it. I understand I shouldn't have been trying to be in the show world with a rider. You know what I mean? And it even bothers me now when everybody's goes to bike shows and you see these works of art and they're like, can't fucking ride it. I'm like, that's a fucking masterpiece of a bike build. You go to a fucking one of those really, really crazy hand built fucking chopper shows. I don't expect to ride that bike. I'm more amazed at the artisticness, if that's a word, on these bikes. Same thing with baggers, So,
well, that's last year I was an invited builder for the One Moto show. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever been.
I heard about that one.
So it's a pretty big show, and I mean, I knew about it. And of course, the style of bikes we're doing, I thought, well, maybe I can get that part of culture into what we're doing because they like this style. And, they all go there, and one of them used to work for me, a female, who's now pretty popular. Mm-hmm. And she would say, "Oh, these bikes aren't rideable, the big wheel bikes, right?" Well, she worked for us, and our cafe bikes are so rideable, and we ride our bikes and this and that. Well, after she didn't work for me anymore, I saw her 2 times pushing her bikes everywhere they went. Right?
Yeah.
Never see her riding them. They were pushing them everywhere. And when I went to the One Moto show, of course, I rode my bike in and I rode it out.
Yeah.
They all pushed theirs in and they all pushed it out. And they're looking at me like, the fuck's this guy think he is? You know what I mean? Like, but I've done plenty of shows where I've pushed bikes in and pushed them out. You know, I've built those bikes. But I thought I was going into a culture of bikes that were supposedly rideable.
Yeah.
Well, I was pretty wrong about that. I mean, they kind of all stuck their nose in the air, you know, towards me.
I think all those ones, man. Anytime you get a show involved, it becomes when everything's about the show. Then I think that you're not concerned about how the bike rides and feels and reacts to the roads as you are to how people are going to react to seeing how pristine it is and everything's immaculate. Like, that's a show. There's a bike for that, you know, and there's also a bike for a sick ass bike at a gas station in the hills somewhere. Like, oh fuck, it's a bike show right here, you know.
You know, I'll be honest with you, Jace. I've always been that way. You know, my red
17.
Yeah, 17. I bought that bike out of a salvage, who actually was a fire bike.
Mm-hmm.
I built it. Never washed it for the first. I mean, we built it. I may have wiped it down.
Mm-hmm.
The bike had never been washed for probably a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I washed it one day, and there was still mud underneath on the transmission from when I got it. Like,
yeah.
And you know, I put it in shows and everything, but to me, all of my bikes, I never get crazy with wiping them down because I ride them.
Yeah. I remember we went to that little magazine shoot over in Fort Worth, and you rode up on that.
Oh yeah, RP3.
Yeah, you rode up on that, had the helmet on and shit. We went and rode around, and then there was a couple other shops that showed up too. That trailered.
That promoted that they rode their bikes everywhere. Yeah.
I was tripping out on that, and I was coming off that. It was crazy because that night before, like, we all went out and got super fucking drunk, like crazy drunk the night before that show. And it was a crazy night, but we were still there. You know, we rode them in, woke up fucking crack of dawn, and got our way across town for that little magazine shoot.
Yeah, I kind of laughed at that deal because they promoted how they ride their shit everywhere. They don't trailer their shit, like, and then they showed up there around the corner from where their shop is.
Dropped them.
Yeah, in a trailer. So that was the same time I saw what's her face her and her dad pushing their bikes. I mean, I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It does get, I mean, at that point in time though, man, you know I was more confrontational, and I was had a, not necessarily a chip on my shoulder, but I was more trying to prove myself to people. And so, like, you know, now I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me. You know, I do, but I don't. You know, like, I'm not going to, I say that. I try not to care enough to where it's like, you know, I have a shop full of work. I have a shop full of opportunities, and I have a DM list right now on my fucking Instagram full of opportunities that I haven't even had a chance to, you know, go into yet. So it's like, why am I worried about this stupid shit? Or why am I worried about anybody else in town and whether they're doing good or not? I hope everybody's doing good, to be honest with you.
Listen, if I gave a fuck about what everybody thought, I wouldn't have developed the parts that I've developed over the years, or became the person in the industry that I am. You know, I mean, everyone has tried to take me out on my way. Yeah. And dude, I mean, listen, I don't care. People can say what they want. I'm doing my thing.
Yeah. It was funny because I was talking to someone and I was like, man, it's so funny how, like, you know, when all that shit went down with me, when I kind of lost my business, seeing everybody kind of rally against me was kind of like, it was fuel, you know what I mean, to come back hard. But it's like, fuck, man, like, all you dudes was smiling in my face. And, you know, and then, you know, when you saw a chance for you to rally against me to get me out of the spot that I was in, because I felt, this might be arrogant, but I felt like when I had that shop and I had money backing me, and we were really the only shop in town that had everything, kind of. You know, we didn't really have a legit welder on site. But I mean, we were working on baggers. You weld one item on there.
Yeah. I mean, you guys were doing a good thing, man. But that's what I'm saying, man. If you're doing a good thing, somebody's trying to take you out. Yeah. It's sad when you add people to your team and you're internally, and they try to take you out. It's like you would never be here.
That's what happened to me, man.
I know.
Yeah.
Listen, you know, I know one of them pulled up on an old ass original Roguelike. Mm-hmm. That wanted me to work on their bike, and I was like, I couldn't stand it.
Yeah,
you know?
That dude's he's a nightmare of a person. But yeah, it's just crazy, man. But like I said, you know, I think that the guy in the industry that's you know the tortoise and not the hare is the guy that's here for the long run. You know.
Yeah.
All the you know, let's be the biggest bagger builders. Let's be the biggest dyno builders. Like, man, just be the like, try to be your best.
Just be good at what you do, man. And you don't have to go out and promote yourself. It'll self promote. Do good things. I mean, I believe in that, man. And you know, I think you know, man. I don't go out there and I don't wear my life on my sleeve. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm jaded.
Yeah.
At times when you run into me, I'm like, F this and F that.
Yeah.
About, you know, my past, but honestly, I'm happier in what I'm doing today than I've ever been. So I'm thankful.
Yeah,
as hurtful as that situation was,
yeah,
I'm thankful it happened because I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know,
it's the same thing, man, dude. I've had my downs have been like, fuck, man. Like, that's like, you know, you could be mad at the world, you know what I mean? But, you know, now I'm like looking at the life that I live, and, you know, every struggle that I've had a bunch of struggles this year, but I know that it's kind of just putting me in where I want to be in life, you know what I mean? And even though I'm dealing with the shit and it's not easy and it's not fun, it's just like, I know that at the end of it, I'll be better, you know what I mean? And what I'm doing will be better. So I try to stay positive like that, but you know, you just get closer to you try to find the right people to associate yourself with, and maybe not be as opening to everybody that says hi to you as, you know I was at one point in my career, but I don't know, man.
Well, some part of it, man, I have to tell myself it's almost rewarding in a selfish way that somebody is that determined to take you out.
Yeah.
They're that fucking jealous.
Yeah. It's true.
Of what you're doing, and then they fail. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They can't do. There's a reason that we were what we were.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I tell people, same concept. I'm like, look, I'm an asshole for a reason. It's because that's the only way I know how to get shit done.
Yeah.
So if you don't want me, you know, if I'm an asshole, oh, fuck Jace, he's an asshole. I'm still getting it done. Customers are happy. Products are nice. Shit's getting on the floor. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to be a perfect human being and a creative mind and a you know, a marketer and a you know, a fucking dad and a husband and all these fucking jobs. You know, it gets complicated, man.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I don't know.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah.
And I'd like to do it again sometime. And it's always good seeing you for sure anyways. You know, we have quite the history together.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think you're doing good things. And, you know, I'm jealous that you get to go out and ride a motorcycle as much as you do, for sure.
I haven't got to do it that much, but I make it look like I do.
You need to get Cole Freeman on your podcast.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. You know, I try to reach out to people that I feel like I can engage a conversation with.
He's one of those dudes.
You know, that'd probably be the case.
And that kid's going somewhere. I'm telling you, man. He's a good dude. I've known him a while now.
I think he's moving here to Dallas.
Yeah, he wants to. I know that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what his plan is, but and man, he can ride a motorcycle. And
sure.
I tell you, man, I'll have him on Epic Bike soon. We got plans, and definitely want to have one of my bikes in his fleet.
So, I mean, I guess we can wrap this up now. So what's the website, Instagram? What's all the connections, man?
Everything's Epic Moto Co. EPICMOTOCO.com for the website, and then Instagram is Epic Moto Co. Facebook Epic Moto Co. YouTube. what is it? Pinterest, Google Plus, and there's this new one.
You're trying to hit all the social medias before they get hot.
Dude, there's this new one. What's it called? Holanis?
What?
Yeah.
What's that?
For entrepreneurs.
Oh, that's cool.
So, listen, it doesn't work that great, but apparently that's where all the entrepreneurs are going. So I signed up for that one the other day, but everything we have, I don't use Twitter, but
yeah, I don't either.
Epic Moto Co. And check us out. Check out our YouTube. We'll have a lot of tech videos coming this year with Tucker. We have a lot of plans there. All of our products will be video installs, so that'll be cool. It's one of the things we have going with them is they've dedicated their film studio to us to, instead of reading directions, just watch the video. And I mean, all of our stuff's simple anyway, so
yeah, it's not like a long process. So.
Yeah, so we'll have all that, and that'll be pretty cool. But just keep watching, man. We're doing cool stuff, and we're putting all the builders that are building bikes. We're putting that all on our website, so you can go on there and look. I mean, we've got I don't know, there may be 10 builder bikes out there or something now. And we want to promote all the shops. I mean, it's definitely what we're doing is promoting all the shops that are doing the work.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Building our stuff. So, I think that's important for us. But again, excited about 2019 and doing this deal with Tucker and getting back out there in the motorcycle world and doing what I love. So
cool. Well, shit, man. Thank you. 2 hours and 34 minutes. So
wow, I didn't know I had that much to say.
Shit goes by. All right.
Well, good deal.
See you later.
Thanks, man.
Hello again. Hope you guys enjoy Chris. Love the dude. He's a great guy. He's been a good guy to me for a long time. So I want to thank him for getting on our podcast and looking forward to the things that he's doing with his new path in Epic Moto Co. So you guys just heard his tags for Instagram, Facebook, and all those other things. So check him out. And I want to thank all you guys again for continuing to support us on our Patreon. If you haven't heard about it, which I'm pretty sure you have, you can get a link on our website at fastlifegarage.com. There's a link right on the front if you want to do $1, $5, 10, 20, or go to that baller status like some of the homies did earlier. But dude, it's all appreciated, and it's helping us fund this podcast, helping us take the time off work, helping us travel, helping us do everything to kind of bring more content and hopefully bring a better quality content as well. So yeah, that's thank you. Appreciate it. If you can't do the Patreon, man, I appreciate you still listening to this podcast and all you guys sharing it on Instagram and Facebook and leaving reviews and anything you can do, man. It all helps it like grow and get bigger. And if it gets bigger and grows, then it stays around forever. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, thank you for helping me keeping it on this long. We're almost at a year. I mean, we still got a few months, but almost there. But anyway, another key thing is our sponsors, man. So don't forget to check out Texas Performance MC on Instagram as well as online. Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram and painthuffer.com. Horsepower Inc. Indy on Facebook. HorsepowerInc.net on the World Wide Web, and Horsepower Inc. on Instagram. So check those guys out as well. And if you're a shop and you're looking to get some more parts, man, don't forget to check out hdtwin.com. That's hard drive parts on Instagram. I want to thank you guys for checking this out. Should be back next week with some more content. And yeah, you guys have a great weekend and party on, Garth.